Okay, last time Sora confessed that Lieblich has a virology lab on the sea floor under Lemu, where they are doing gain of function research. Or maybe not gain of function research by some technicality about the definition of gain of function research. It developed this virus called Deep Blue, which leaked up into Lemu and has killed Yu's father, Yu's mother, and now almost killed Coco and might still kill Coco, we don't know. Now, when Lemu's about to, at the beginning of Takeshi's branch, when Takeshi and Tsugumi are standing in Estaboden and like water starts crashing in, it's Erstaboden. Um, Sora says, "This is dangerous. You got to get out of here, Deep Blue," which seems to um, suggest that this disaster falling Lemu, where it's imploding, is called Deep Blue. However, now that we know for certain, or at least close to certain, that Deep Blue is a virus, as was suggested by the internal conversations among employees of Lemu that Sora found on the Lemay when, Sora changed her priorities so that she could do that. So, yeah, so it's a virus. Then maybe, so I have to rework how I'm thinking what happened here. Perhaps Deep Blue somehow leaked out of the lab into Lemu, and that's what triggered the emergency evacuation. Someone figured that out and like, oh no, there's Deep Blue in here, that potentially being Sora herself, set off the evacuation, although she wouldn't admit that that's what she did, because she didn't want to let anybody, like, she wanted to cover up Deep Blue to some extent, although she could still blurt it out in an exclamation. And that's why everyone left. And then her story about that Lemu imploded because when they evacuated and people left the hatches open and let all the pressure out of Lemu may actually be plausible now. It's just the evacuation went wrong. People left the escape hatches open. Lemu decompressed, and that's why it collapsed like more than halfway. And the problem with that is, problem with the crisis causing the evacuation to be Deep Blue, gotta get out of here because there's a virus in here and it can get you, it can kill you. And it's the evacuation going wrong causing the structural problems, is that Tsugumi thinks that the whole trapping those specific characters, isolating them inside Lemu, was intentional, as evidenced by all the communication channels were off, and a bunch of fail-safes that should have worked just didn't, mysteriously. Why it was all like a perfect storm to just trap them in there. So it kind of, that makes it inconsistent. The evacuation was over Deep Blue is inconsistent. It's not entirely consistent, considering all the other details of the game, with the trapping being on purpose. Unless that was orchestrated, like it was all really planned out. Like we're going to release Deep Blue intentionally, and that's going to cause this. Okay, let's continue into here. So I guess we're now going to go down. I'm assuming that where this is going is we're actually going to go down into the lab. That there's reason to believe that we're not going to do that because in order to do that they would have to have made backgrounds for those locations. So see if they put in the effort to do that. Into the deep. Okay. "357 feet beneath Lemu, there was a terminal seafloor. There are thermal seafloor vents. Living there are special microbes, which cannot be found in any other environment, and Lieblich Pharmaceutical created a research institute in order to study them. It's called IBF, Institute for Biological Research, Institute for Biologische Forschung. Translated, it means Institute for Biological Research. Lemieux and the research facility, of the two, the first to be built was the research facility. Building a theme park was apparently just a front. The researchers at IBF were listed as managers of Lemieux and were able to come and go as they pleased. That way, nobody would suspect that there was actually a research facility. At the same time, they could also get much needed funds for research. If they could set up a successful theme park, they would get pretty much all the money they needed to run the research facility. Well, they'd only need to do this if the research facility was like doing something they wouldn't want people to know, like wouldn't let some whatever government was relevant to know they were doing. So Lieblich Pharmaceutical continued to carry out research into bacteria and viruses on the bottom of the ocean, 357 feet underwater.
EBF のことは極秘事項なんです。
That answers why did Lieblich build Lemieux? The existence of IBF is highly confidential.
ライプリキの中でもレミューの中でも知っているのはごく一部の人間だけ。
Even a select number of people know about it at Lieblich, even at Lemieux.
EBF とレミューはコンピューターシステム上も別管轄になっていますし、
IBF and Lemieux are controlled by separate computer systems.
私にも関連の乏しい断片的な情報しか教えられていなかったのです。
Even I am only given limited information.
今回の件で分散された情報を統合して初めて EBF が実在することをはっきり確信しました。
I only became sure of IBF's existence after connecting together fragments of information from this accident. Oh.
とにかくティーフ・ブラウという未知の悪性ウイルスがあって、レミューの下の研究所でその研究は行われていた。
Anyway, there's a strange deadly virus called TB. They're doing research about at some research center under Lemieux.
それはおそらくそのティーフ・ブラウの治療方法を探るため。
It's probably in order to find a cure for TB, right? Oh, you are so naive. So trusting.
ええ、おそらくそうです。それから、
Yes, you are probably correct. You're probably not correct knowing this genre. Yes, you are probably correct, so you say, Sora. In addition,
EBF にはこちらの救護室よりもはるかに充実した医療設備が整っているはずです。
there's a medical center there that is far superior to this one. Yeah, but it would have, like, deep blue leaked out into it.
あくまでレミのデータベースからの推測ですが、
At least from the information I can gather from Lemieux's database.
EBF の診療室には最新型の高圧酸素治療装置があるようです。
It appears that they have a new type of high-pressure oxygen treatment device there. Wasn't that just another hyperbolic chamber? Not as in like a hyperbola, but like as in a hyperbaric chamber. You know what I mean. I can't do jargon.
その治療装置を使えば白血球の殺菌作用が増大します。
And if we can treat her with that, her leukocyte or white blood cell activity should increase.
ココちゃんの症状をある程度緩和することができるかもしれません。
That should ease Coco's condition somewhat.
症状を抑える効果のあるアンプル。先ほどのオレンジのアンプルも新たに入手できるでしょう。
We might even encounter more of the serum that is effective in stabilizing the symptoms, even the orange one we found previously. IBF, huh? Yeah, and I'll get TB. Yeah, well, can we go there? How do we get there?
待って
Wait, the kid interrupted with a shout.
ちょっと待ってよおかしいよそんなの
Wait, this is crazy.
どうしてココはそのティーフブラウとかにかかっちゃったの
Why would Coco suddenly come down with TB?
そんな恐ろしいウイルスにいきなり感染してるなんて
It doesn't make sense that she'd come down with that awful virus all of a sudden.
なんか変だと思わない
You don't think that's strange?
そうね。
Yeah, but
ココを治療したくてもこの場所ではこれ以上手が施せない。
even if we want to help Coco, there isn't any equipment here to do that.
治療法の手がかりはその研究所 EBF にしかないわ。
The only lead we have for treating her is that research facility, IBF. Yeah, but the kid's right, though.
理由を探るのは後回し。
We'll have to look for reasons afterward.
もっとも空の言うことを全面的に信じればの話だけど。
do is trust what Sora tells us for now. Yeah, except you know you can't trust Sora.
込み入った嘘をつけるほど器用じゃないはずよね。
She isn't good enough at lying to make up something like this, right? Well, yeah, I mean, Tsugumi could identify Sora's lying.
さっきは疑ってしまってごめんなさい。
I'm sorry for doubting you earlier.
私は信用するわ。空のこと。
I believe what Sora is telling us. Or more so, you have some other reason you want to go down to IBF, and you're just using this as an excuse to go down there. Tsugumi smiled slightly.
はい。ありがとうございます。
Thank you. Sora nodded sincerely.
私も信じるよ。
Yeah, I believe her too.
何よりここでこのまま手をこまねいてばかりいられない。
We can't sit back twiddling our thumbs.
取り得る最善の方法を考えましょう。
Let's consider the best option. I looked at you and Sora and nodded. Also, would there not be people in IBF? Would they have evacuated with the customers of Lei Mu when the evacuation happened, or would they still be down there? I presume they not, because the cast in this game is very closed.
それで納得してくれる？少年。
Does that sound good to you, kid?
そうだね。わかったよ。
Yeah, okay. Alright then. So it's decided then we're going to IBF. It's the only chance we got at saving Coco.
でも EBF に行くにはヒンメルを通らないとヒンメルの扉は開かないんですよ。
However, in order to get to IBF, we have to get through Himmel. And Himmel's door isn't opening. I don't care, we're going. We don't have any other options. Show me the way. It might not work. But we don't know that unless we try, right? Hey kid, give me a hand.
はい。
Okay. I picked up Coco's inert body and carried her piggyback. We went down the lift to the cramped emergency corridor. Tsugumi and the kid supported Coco, who was on my back from both sides. Sora and Pee-Pee went on ahead. You brought along a first aid kit just in case. We were headed for Drite stock, some 17 meters below. We made it to the third floor. This CG is in the opener, but is there a similar CG to this with Sora in it? I haven't seen that one yet. We ran as quickly as we could to where the locked door was waiting for us. Using all the strength we had and all the power of our prayers, we flew forward. Here we are. We all stopped in front of the door. I briefly put Coco down and leaned her up against the wall. The kid went up to Coco and lent her his shoulders. Himmel. The door that wouldn't open. Sora, I'm just asking to make sure.
なんでしょう。
What? What does Himmel mean?
ドイツ語で空。
No, it is definitely an acronym. We just don't know what it is yet. It means sky in German.
それに天国。
Or heaven. Yeah, but why is it in all caps? Heaven, huh? They sure had given it an ironic name. So the question was, how in the world are we going to open that door? By saving the game. So I think Tsugumi probably has the answer. So we're going to go down Sora first. Can you tell me what the access code to the electronic lock is? I asked Sora again.
不明です。EBF 研究員やこの部屋の専属スタッフにしか伝えられていないんです。
It is unknown to me. It was only given to the IBF researchers and exclusive staff. Even a hint would help.
私、解除コードを探してみます。
I'll try to find what it is. As soon as she said that, a transparent keyboard and console appeared in front of her.
レミシステムのセキュリティブロックにアクセス。
Accessing the security block for limited system.
ヒンメルのプロテクトキーを解除します。
Bypassing Himmel's protection key. The buttons on the electronic lock started to flash.
レミ、お願いだから私の言うことを聞いて。
Lemia, please listen to me.
逆らわないで。
Please don't fight me. Sora was tapping furiously on the keyboard, battling with the system that was locking the door. Ah. Snap. To me, almost as if sparks are flying in the air. Sora's hand flew across the virtual keyboard. Ah. Unfazed, she continued to type. Crack. Snap. Snap, crackle, and pop. Sparks violently scattered out one after another. Ow. Her RSD image wavered and the virtual keyboard disappeared. Sora, are you okay?
すみません。アクセス拒否されました。
Sorry, I was denied access with like a visual. Her image continued to flicker for a while. The next thing to try was... Hey, you, is there any way to get around this lock that you made, that you know of? Huh? Where'd you go? Takeshi, out of the way! Eh? Turning toward the voice coming from behind, a few yards away, I saw you throw down the first aid kit she had been carrying. Huh? What? She immediately came hurling toward me as if possessed. She looked furious. I stumbled back away from the door. Crash. With a perfect flying dropkick, she threw open the panel to the electronic lock. What are you doing? This isn't the time to be goofing off.
まともにやって開かないならぶっ壊すしかないでしょうが。
If it won't open any other way, I'm going to break it down. Well, it looks like you, that it opens towards you. So, good luck. You shouted as she leaned over panting. That's a little extreme. Well, how about it? Does it look like it's going to open?
びくともしてないじゃないのよ。
I won't budge an inch. Neither the door nor the panel had changed at all. You began hitting the lock with a renewed vigor, uttering strange noises. All the lock did was make error sounds, and ask politely for her to re-enter the password. Sigh.
はいたたたたた。
Somehow that's ouch. In the end, you ended up with a sprained finger and went back to the first aid kit. And what are we going to do? You only get to pick two? Coco was being supported by the kid. She couldn't stand by herself. She soon was hunched over on the floor. Tried pulling her up again, but her face quickly drained of all color. This is bad if we don't get in there quickly.
Öffnen Sie die Tür von Himmel.
Okay, I'm gonna save here. This. Try ask Tsugumi. Tsugumi, do you think there's a way to open it up?
何言ってるのよ、たけし。
What are you talking about, Takeshi?
私もそれがわからないから困ってるんじゃない。
I'm cracking my brains thinking about the same thing. Oh, yeah, right. After thinking for a bit, Tsugumi asked Sora a question.
この扉が開くときにどういう動作が行われるのかわかる？
Do you know what kind of process this door goes through when it opens?
そうですね。推測してみます。
Okay, let me see.
正しい解除キーが入力されると、そこに埋め込まれているハッチのレバーが立ち上がるはずです。
After the correct keys are input, a lever embedded inside the hatch should start to raise.
レバーを回転させることで扉のロックが解除されます。
As that lever turns, the lock on the door is released.
ただし、現在はこのレバーは飾りです。回転は電動で自動的に。普段はモーターにロックをかけてあるようです。
However, the lever is nothing more than an ornament now. It is turned automatically using electricity, and the motor is usually locked in place.
そう。本来は緊急時には手動で開けられるようにしてあったのをわざわざ使えなくしたんでしょうね。
Yeah, I suppose they designed it so that you couldn't open it up during an emergency on purpose.
だとすれば、
In that case, she pulled out a flathead screwdriver. Where'd she get that from?
もしレバーを取り出せれば手動で開けられるかもしれない。
If we can get that lever off, maybe we can open this up manually. She began to insert the tip of the screwdriver into the gap between the door's panel lines. And... Huh? Tsugumi jammed the screwdriver in with all her might. She tried to dig out the lever buried in the hatch by force. The alloy screwdriver crushed like a piece of candy. The lever budged slightly towards the surface of the door. However, slam. The screwdriver bent into 2 equal parts from its handle. The lever snapped back into place.
仕方ないわね。
There's nothing I can do. Tsugumi threw the bent screwdriver on the floor. What next? Okay, so none of them would work.
不明。
I'm just gonna go through all but the U.
すみ。
Öffnen Sie die Tür vom Himmel.
Öffnen Sie die Tür von Himmel. Every noun's capitalized in German, right? D is like the... Von is of, maybe. Shows up in, like, names. I don't know, like, practically any German. Often might be open. Suddenly, a voice I hadn't heard before sounded from the corridor. What is it saying?
誰かがレミシステムにアクセスしています。
Someone is trying to access Limi's system. Sora flashed open her eyes and
こ
shouted.
の部屋の中、ヒンメルの端末からです。
Inside the room, from a terminal inside Himmel. What? The access indicator light for the electronic lock turned green. The hatch's lever raised and turned automatically. So I guess Tour might be door. So it's like Die Tour von Himmel is the door of Himmel. And then just trying to guess German here. Because German has some English cognates. So you can kind of guess German a bit. Yeah, often might be open. Don't know what C is. It's a noun, though. So... Suddenly. And whack someone. Stagnant air poured out of the room. For some reason, the humidity felt like it was lower than outside. The air conditioning was humming quietly. It was white. It was pure white inside. The whiteness of the wall and the floor was emphasized by the brightness of the lighting and seemed to leap out at us. Himmel. It didn't necessarily seem like a mistake to have named the room Heaven. There were nameplates on the machines with Himmel written on them. It seemed that we were in the computer control room. Hey, there's someone here. Did he open up the door just now? There's a single person in the room. He was a man who appeared to be in his 40s, dressed in a white lab coat. And blood was coming from his mouth as he had passed out at a console. So he has deep blue. Hey mister, are you alright? The man didn't reply to me, he just lay there motionless. Who is this guy? Sora, do you have any idea who this is?
いいえ、ID 照合できません。
No, I'm unable to verify his ID. Wait, Sora can be projected inside the Himmel room?
ですが、その服装からするとおそらく EBF の研究員の方だと思います。
But judging from the way he is dressed, it is safe to assume he was a researcher at the IBF facility. I put my hands on his shoulders and raised him into a sitting position. I looked over his white clothing to see if he had any name tags or other ways to determine his name. But he didn't have an ID card or nameplate to check. Ugh. Hey, are you one of the staff from the research facility?
ああ、そうだ。
Yeah, that's right. Breathing faintly, the researcher replied. He seemed to be unable to open his eyes and searched for me by my voice. It's like they can't make they didn't have budget for a sprite of this person.
君は救助隊じゃなさそうだな。
Doesn't seem like you're here to rescue me. He grabbed onto me with shaking hands. They were covered in blood.
レミューにまだ人がいたのか。あれから6日は経っただろうに。
So there are still people in the Mu, and it's been 6 days since.
こいつは驚きだ。
What a surprise. Blood trickled from his mouth as he smiled wryly. Hey, don't strain yourself. You don't have to talk.
すまんな。我々のせいで。
I'm sorry, it's all my fault. What happened? Did something happen down there?
だけど、どうしてこんな。
I'll this.
こんな。
This. After that, he was silent. Hey, hang in there. I shook his shoulders, but he didn't reply.
たけし、乱暴はやめなさいよ。
Takeshi, cut it out. You're shaking him too hard.
彼はもう気を失っているわ。手を離してあげて。
He's unconscious. Just leave him alone for now. Okay.
こうなれば、彼も一緒に連れて行くしかないでしょうね。
I'll have to bring him with us. I wonder what was going on. Wait, more importantly, we've got to hurry. I don't have a clue what's going on, but I can't worry about that now. We've got to get Coco to IBF right away. You, who had been waiting at the entrance of Himmel, went inside with Pee-Pee. The kid followed behind, carrying Coco. The door had an electronic lock on it, so we left it open.
皆さん、この部屋の奥にもう一つ部屋があります。見えますか？
Everyone, at the far end of this room is another room. Can you see it? I mean, at some point, Sora's not going to be able to come with because she's not going to. There's no way to create her image.
え
Yeah.
え、わかるわ。
Yeah, I see it. We all nodded. There's a room on the other side of the glass in front of us.
あれは EBF 用の加減圧室です。
This is the compression chamber for IBF. Sora straightened up and explained the situation without emotion.
私の持つわずかなデータから判断しますと、
Judging from incomplete data,
EBF には通常のレミューよりもさらに高圧のガスが封入されています。EBF もまた飽和潜水仕様というわけです。
IBF is enclosed in higher pressure gas than Lemu. The IBF area is set to what is known as saturated diving specifications.
その方が特殊な細菌の研究に適しているということもあるのでしょう。EBF の内部気圧は実に約 12.5 気圧。
This type of area is also probably more suitable for research with bacteria. The atmospheric pressure of IBF is actually at about 12.5 atmospheres. About an hour later, and I'm back. I don't know if I've already read this line or not. This type of area is also probably more suitable for research with bacteria. The atmospheric pressure of IBF is actually at about 12.5 atmospheres. To which you would ask, how do you not die in there?
皆さんにはあの部屋に入っていただきます。
You don't wear a suit? I want all of you to enter that room.
そして加減圧室での約1時間の加圧が完了次第、専用リフトで eBayF へと下降することになります。
And after you spend about 1 hour in the compression chamber, you'll take the access elevator down to IBF.
念のため申し上げておきますが、
I should tell you this as a precaution,
こ
but
こから先は容易に後戻りすることはできません。皆さん、心してください。
you will not be able to retrace your steps easily from this point on. Please give this due consideration. Yeah, also you have to decompress to get out. We can't go back. We've got to make a decision. I don't think this will matter. Actually, despite how much it looks like it will matter. It's kind of an ominous looking question. I'm going to save here just in case. Hey, wait just a second. As soon as I said that, Tsugumi glared needles at me.
どうしたのたけし。まさかこの後に及んでおじけづいたりしてないでしょうね。
What is the matter, Takeshi? You aren't chickening out now, are you? No, that's not it. If we're going to spend an hour stuffed into that little room, I just wanted to make sure everyone was ready. You know, check to see if everyone has gone to the bathroom, brushed their teeth, taken a shower, and if you're going to bring a snack, make sure it's reasonable. I'm glad I chose that. I heard two rather large sighs.
こんな時にもそんな冗談言っていられるあなたって正真正銘神聖のバカね。
Saying something like that at a time like this, you really are a moron. We already know that Tsugumi, stinks, so.
倉成さん、1時間くらいでしたら皆さんきっと我慢できますよ。
Takeshi, it will only take 1 hour. I'm sure everyone can wait.
それより急ぎましょう。
When it comes to me and urination, that sometimes is not true. More importantly, we need to hurry, okay? It seemed that everyone was tired of my jokes. I had just wanted to put everyone at ease. Okay, I'm sorry. So let's get moving then. Then, when I said this again, you, the kid, Tsugumi, Sora, and PP all nodded in unison. The kid and you held the unconscious Coco between them, even though her sprite doesn't make her look unconscious. Tsugumi and I picked up the researcher, and PP took up the rear. Everyone lined up at the transparent sliding door on the far side of the room. That room looks like it has a suspiciously yellow sub-like looking thing in it. Sora used the control panel on a terminal to open it up. All of us entered the room together. A single panel of reinforced glass lay in between the control room and the compression chamber. More precisely, a chamber was set in the middle of the room. Had been constructed there. A mistranslation, I presume? We brought Coco and the researcher into the room first and sat them down on the chairs. So they do have backgrounds for this. Both of their breathing was ragged, and they looked in pain. Their faces were extremely pale and sickly. We needed to hurry. I hated to waste an hour here. You, the kid, Tsugumi, and Pee-Pee all stood in the open space available. With everyone in there, it was fairly crowded.
加圧が完了すれば部屋の奥の扉が自動で開いてリフトへ行けるようになりますから。
Once the compression is completed, the door on the far side should open, and you can enter the elevator. For some reason, Sora didn't enter the room, but spoke to us from in front of the entrance. Probably because she doesn't have a projection in the room.
加圧は最速で行います。ちょっと辛くなるかもしれませんが、なんとか我慢してください。
I will expedite the compression process. It may be a little uncomfortable, but please bear with it. There's a fast version? And saying this, Sora went to close the door. Sora, what's wrong? You aren't coming with us?
いえ、私は。
Oh, Come on, let's get started. What are you waiting for? I casually reached out towards Sora. I knew I couldn't grab her, but I did it anyway. However... Kya! As soon as I tried to touch her, sparks flew into the air. I felt as though shock had gone through me. A transparent wall suddenly appeared in front of the door. There was a red wall of flame. What? I drew back my hand and the door closed. Sora, what was...
ここから先はコンピューターの管轄が違うんです。
From this point of view, this is the jurisdiction of a different computer system. I heard Sora's voice talking to us calmly over the speaker of the compression chamber's intercom.
私はあくまでレミの機能の一部ですから、eBayF には降りられないんです。アクセス権限がないんですよ。
I am but a single part of the Limit system, therefore I am unable to go to IBF. I do not have the authority to access the area. It's like, turns out there's like a second AI in IBF that's like a mean man.
残念ですが、ここでお見送りさせていただきます。
I am sorry, but I will have to see you off. The wall of fire had vanished. We were in the compression chamber, shut off from the rest of the world. No, you do not have tinnitus, that is literally the sound effect. The sound of pumping gas, which was slowly raising the air pressure, could be heard throughout the chamber. Hey, everyone take out your voice converters, they get in the way when you're adjusting to the pressure. Everyone did as I said and removed their voice alternators. I took out Coco's myself. I checked the researcher, but it didn't seem he was wearing any. After that, hardly anyone said a word. We were all waiting for the time to pass. Sora could be seen outside the chamber's window. She didn't move, only stood and watched us. And then... the lock from the door on the far side of the chamber clicked and released. I felt a subtle change in pressure, and the lift down to IBF opened. We all filed into it one by one.
それでは皆さん、どうかご無事で。
Everyone, take care. We could hear her voice from the speaker on the other side of the room. But we couldn't see her. I wondered if I would ever see her up close again. Cocking my head to one side, I thrust the voice alternators back in my ears. Everyone got aboard the lift. And as soon as the doors closed, the elevator started sliding down.
Tiefe 70 meter.
Depth 210 feet.
Tiefe 80 meter.
Depth 240 feet.
Tiefe 90 meter.
Depth 270 feet. Is this Japanese or German? I'm presuming it's Japanese. What could be below heaven? More heaven or earth?
Tiefe 119 meter.
Well, I would say earth, but they might be implying hell. Depth 357 feet. The door to the elevator opened. The passage extended in two directions from the elevator room. I went in one of these. Everything was totally dark, and I could hardly tell where I was headed. Fearfully, I took a step forward. And suddenly, as if someone had noticed our arrival, the lights went on in the room. Is someone there?
勝手についたみたいだったけど。
I think they just turned on by themselves.
センサーが反応して、コンピューターが照明を操作した。
The sensors reacted and the computer activated the lights.
わからないけど、あり得るね。
I'm not sure, but it's possible. It seemed that there was a pool there where a small submarine could dock. The pool was a two-layer structure, but there was no sign that seawater would flow in. It felt a little hot in there, but it seemed as if the air conditioning was still working properly. I guess it would be hot since they're on top of, like, thermal vents. I mean, it seems weird at first when they say that, because it's like, they're under the ocean. Perhaps the place was even more comfortable than the Fledrite stock. But there was no sign of anyone. Anyway, let's get to where we have to go. We opened a watertight door on the other side of the room and continued deeper into the installation. Yeah, this is the passage from the kid's dream. The passageway, the same size as Lemu's emergency corridors, no, maybe even smaller, led off into the distance. I skipped a line, but luckily I figured out how the backlog works. For some reason, the whole place seemed colder, less active than the structure above. because it's a lab. We continued down the corridor. Lights would go on automatically a few feet in front of us. Well, it certainly seems computer-controlled. We continued moving. The lights followed us, lighting up only the areas around us. The corridor branched off in a few directions, but all of them ended at watertight doors that were closed. I wondered if IBF had flooded except for one part. Anyway, the number of areas that we could enter was limited. Luckily, we found the examination room right away. I quickly turned the handle and opened the door. You and the kid laid Coco down on a nearby table. Oh, these aren't human storage pods necessarily, they're hyperbaric chamber pods. Tsugumi and I put the researcher down in a chair slowly. There are a few ordinary beds in the examination room, and the same kind of LMRI that we had found in Lemu's infirmary. There were numerous medical instruments that looked like things that you might only see in a science fiction movie. I wondered what in the world they were for. I had no idea. Hey you, where is that high-pressure oxygen thing that Sora was talking about?
わかんないよ、そんなの。
How should I know? Tsugumi, what should we do?
調べるしかないわ。ここのことは誰も知らないんだから。
Well, we have to look for it. None of us knows a thing about this place.
待て。
Wait. The researcher coughed as he spoke. Hey, don't move. Are you okay?
無事とは言えんが、まだ生きてるよ。
I've been better, but at least I'm alive. With his eyes closed, he raised his hands weakly in response.
この匂い、ここは EBF か。
This smell, this is IBF?
戻ってきてしまったな。
So I'm back where I started, cough. So you were working here. Well then, there's something I want to ask you. We're looking for something called a high-pressure oxygen treatment device. We've come as far as the examination room, but we don't have a clue what to look for. Can you help us, please?
酸素治療。ああ、ポッドだな。
Oxygen treatment. Oh, you're looking for the pods.
合金製のカプセルがあるはずだ。中にマットが敷いてある。
There should be some alloy capsules with a mat set inside of them.
円筒形の柱にくっついてるやつだ。見えるかい？
They look like a bunch of cylinders stuck to a pillar. You see them? The researcher's voice actor, though I don't understand him, is really cool. Yeah, they're right in front of me.
そいつがそうだ。
That's them. Hang in there, we found them. So don't waste your energy talking anymore, okay? New blood appeared on the researcher's closed hand, and he wiped his
あ
mouth.
とはマニュアルを見てくれ。操作は簡単なはずだ。
Just take a look at the manual. They should be easy to operate. Okay, I gotcha. Strength left the researcher's hand. Just before he collapsed, I grabbed onto his shoulder to support his body. Let's put him in a pod, and Coco
え
too.
え、そうね。
Yeah. Tsugumi and I got on either side of the researcher and supported him. We brought him over to where the three pods were. Someone's gonna go in a third pod. Huh. When I pressed the button on the side of one, its hatch opened. I put him down gently inside. When I pressed the button again, the capsule pod closed again silently. The kid and you laid Coco down in another pod. So the researcher has a little bit of a design here, okay, though vague. The hatch of the pod closed soon after. Did you find the manual?
見つけた。こっちのコントロールパネルで。
Yeah, this is the control panel. You started operating a terminal a short distance away.
高圧酸素治療。セット。
High pressure oxygen treatment. Set. The screens on the monitors attached to the tubes flickered and both the pods seemed to be functioning normally.
これで大丈夫なはずよ。
That should do it. Okay. The condition of the people inside the pods was monitored and appeared on the control panel. Blood pressure, heart rate, respiration rate. The expressions on their faces were even visible. I watched them for a few minutes. Coco and the researcher, whose name we didn't know. It was a slow process, but they both seemed to be gradually returning to normal.
よかった。
So relieved.
ええ、よかったわ、本当に。
Yeah, tell me about it.
うん。
Yeah. Looks like we made it in time. Woof. We let out a collective sigh of relief. It seemed as if we had escaped the worst for the moment. Well, we don't have time to hang around, you know. We didn't know if the situation here at IBF was any different than Lemu. There might be other survivors or a way out, even communications. We could possibly even find information about TB. It was best to search as much as time would allow. Everyone agreed, so Tsugumi and the kid and I went looking around IBF. You had the most medical knowledge, so she stayed in the examination room with Pee-Pee to look after Coco and the researcher. Because we were unfamiliar with the area, the three of us set out together to look around. We walked all around IBF. But, since there was only a few places, there wasn't much to see. Almost all the corridors had been blocked off, and there were many doors that didn't open. When I tried forcing open one of the doors, a terrible smell started pouring out, so I hurriedly closed it again. From what I had seen during the brief moment the door was open, a few researchers covered in blood had died, clawing at their throats. I didn't really want to think of what had happened there. It wasn't hard to imagine that the situation had been the same or worse than what happened to Lemu. Well, except everyone died of TB. In Lemu, they didn't die, they all just got out. Unless some of them died of the bins afterward, because they didn't decompress. Another room was empty of people, and there were a few computer terminals there. Operating the terminals, we were able to scan through some of the information left there. There was some information about Teeth Blow. Man, this is like a really inefficient, corridor system here. Name, Teeth Blow. Symptoms, fever, chills, headache, aching muscles, loss of appetite, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pains, etc. As it progresses, the patient begins to hemorrhage from the mouth, gums, conjunctiva, nasal cavity, and skin, as well as the alimentary canal, and has a high probability of dying. Death rate after contracting the disease, over 85%. Symptoms first appear similar to that of a common cold, and while they may temporarily improve, the patient's condition will again rapidly deteriorate, resulting in hemorrhaging. Incubation period, normally 2 to 7 days. Ooh. After that point, all the data was corrupted and it was not clear what else was written. Other than that, we came across some interesting information by accident. In the corner of a business log, IBF Visitor Registry, Coco Yagami. Coco's name had been listed. Looking further into the file was what seemed like a personal memo written by somebody. I get to see my daughter for the first time in a while. Her school is on vacation, so she has a 10-day break. I've been trapped for so long in this tin can doing virus research that I'm jealous. That aside, when I told her that special permission had been granted for her to come down and see IBF, she sent me a happy reply saying she would. We've exchanged mail every once in a while, but I wonder how long it's been since we've actually seen each other. I'll just be happy if she hasn't forgotten what I look like. TY. TY. I thought they were probably the initials of Mr. Yagami, Coco's dad, which meant that Coco had been IBF once before, May 1st. And she didn't say anything about it. To meet her father. That's when she got the disease. Okay, we didn't find any other survivors in IBF. The kid, Tsugumi, and I all went back to the examination room. You, how are they doing?
今のところは大丈夫だよ。
Yeah, it looks like they're doing okay for now. You looked tired as she sat down and faced the pause control panel. I looked at the monitor showing vital signs. Blood pressure, heart rate, respiration rate, they all seem to have stabilized for the moment.
そうだ、倉成。さっきここの端末で医療用データベースを確認したんだけど。
Yeah, Takeshi, I checked the medical database on this terminal earlier, but I hesitantly asked you. Yeah, did you find something? Yeah.
ティーフブラウイルスの治療法。決定的なものはまだ発見されていないみたい。
It's like if they still haven't found any definite way to treat the Tiefblau virus.
対症療法として例のオレンジアンプルの注射で症状を一時的に緩和することはできるけど、
All the symptoms can be temporarily treated by injecting that orange serum.
あとは確率の低い自然治癒を待つしか方法はないらしいの。
Otherwise, the only option is to hope for the small chance that it will clear up by itself. Oh, that sucks. The researcher is probably a guy in a red shirt. I know Yu's in a red shirt, but she's not a guy, so it doesn't count.
え、
Huh?
それってどういうこと？
What do you mean?
と
You had trouble finding the word, so Tsugumi took over for her.
そうね。つまり
Well, basically,
個々が治るには個々自身の免疫機能が頑張るしかないってこと。
if Coco is going to heal, her immune system is going to have to work a little harder.
私たちは彼女をポットに入れてあとは祈るしかない。
We've brought her to the treatment pod. All we can do now is hope.
そうだね、そういうことになる。
Yeah, that's all we can do.
そんな、
No,
ここは治らないの？
Coco isn't going to get better? Kid looked like he was about to cry. Nobody said that. Whether she gets better or not is up to Coco's will to live. Kid walked up next to the capsule pod.
ここ。
He latched firmly onto the pod as though he would embrace it and started to cry.
あのポットがココをどれだけ助けてくれるかも未知数なの。
You still don't know how much this pod is going to help Coco. You murmured softly as she read the life signs on the monitor.
高圧酸素治療の他にもレーザーでの現金やら簡単な手術のできる機能も備わってるらしいし、
It seems that this pod can also do laser disinfecting as well as simple surgery, in addition to the oxygen treatment.
使い方によってはハイバネーションすら可能のようだけど、
Oh, so it's kinda right. And depending on how you use it, even cryogenic suspension.
ハイバネーション？
Suspension? What's that, you?
わからない。マニュアルにそうあっただけ。
I'm not sure. It was just in the manual. Let's go. Ew.
結局私たちには何も分かってない。
It's Coco's the one that's in the pod, not everyone else. We don't really know is going to happen to us.
今は信じて待つしかないの。
All we can do is have faith and wait. Beep. A sharp alarm sounded from control panel from control panel monitor. Not knowing what it was, we all looked at the monitor at once. The kid ran over to where we were. An agonized expression came over the face of the researcher. He thrashed and contorted inside the cramped capsule. Hey, mister. The researcher coughed violently and clawed at his throat. His hand and the area around his mouth were stained red. Yep, he was a guy in a red shirt. White lab coat that soon became a red lab coat. The color quickly drained from his skin. His breathing became shallow and he groaned in a low voice.
そんないきなり容体が変わるなんて。
I can't believe his condition would change like this. Hey, mister, stop grabbing at your throat like that. You'll crush it. God. He slowly lowered his hands, which he had been thrashing at his throat with. Hey, mister, are you alright?
Yeah.
No.
もうここまでだな。
This is as far as I make it. The researcher was barely breathing. He was trying to breathe. He let out a gasp, but wasn't able to bring in air.
これも報いか。
Here's the hint. This is my reward. You pored over the manual and desperately searched the control panel. But there was nothing she could do. There was no way for her to keep him alive. She pounded on the manual, then placed both elbows on the panel and covered her face with her hands. She burst into tears. Tsugumi and the kid gazed at the monitor with strained expressions. The researcher's vital signs were getting weaker.
娘を
My daughter.
娘を頼むぞ
My daughter, take care of her. So he is Coco's dad. He looked as though he were smiling, and his eyes closed. He would never move again. Beep. The life readings from the capsule pod went blank, and an electronic alarm sounded that seemed like forever. We couldn't save him. We didn't have the power to save that man, whose name we didn't even know. You didn't know one of his names. I reached out my hand and turned off the alarm on the panel. How is Coco?
正常。
Normal. You replied in a voice filled with tears.
今のところは問題ないよ。
There doesn't seem to be anything wrong, for the moment. Okay, thanks. We'll have to make sure he gets a proper burial. As well as everybody else in here. Everyone was motionless for a while. Proof of how serious the situation was lay right before our eyes. But time rolled ever forward. We didn't have any more room to play around. Dragging my legs, which seemed suddenly very heavy, I went to check all the areas in IBF once again. We had to find out as soon as possible. After researching again, the only thing we realized was that all the escape pods were gone. The researchers had probably used them to get out. There was no deep water diving gear, no oxygen tanks, meaning all routes of escape had been cut off. We were quickly approaching the earliest estimated time for Lemu's implosion. It was almost May 6, 4:30 p.m. Yeah, but you don't know about... But you do know that... what's the acronym again? IBF? IBF is at full pressure. So there's no reason to believe that IBF's going to implode when Lemu implodes. But it may make it harder to get out, because you have to get out from IBF as opposed to from Lemu. A few more hours later, we tried everything. There's nothing we else could do to get out of here. There were no paths left for us to take. Hit by that reality, all of my remaining strength drained away. All I could do was watch the seconds on the clock slip by. There's probably no food in IBF though. That's another issue. The kid's condition. At least you don't have that immediate danger of your structure just imploding on you and just crushing you. The kid's condition had gotten worse, and he was sleeping in a capsule pod. Oh, he goes in the third pod. Okay. We tried contacting the outside using the communication lines, but so Coco dies. The researcher dies, and then the kid, Takeshi, and Tsugumi, they get in the capsule pods. No, what happens to you, though? There's 4 of them. Like, I can see how they get in the capsule pods and just kind of put themselves in, like, cryogenic suspension because there's nothing else they could do, right? They are just hoping that someone would happen upon them later. I mean, that's a way to preserve yourself, is to put yourself in cryogenic suspension and just wait for someone to stumble upon you. But nothing had changed since we were at Lemu. All sonic and electrical communications were down. Even once in a while, static would come to the receiver from the outside, which meant that the lines were functioning, but the computer's communication software wasn't working. We had been trapped here by Lieblich Pharmaceutical to hide the existence of IBF and its records from the outside world. Our reality was a nightmare. How I wished that it all had only been a long dream. Thinking that, I closed my eyes slowly.
3 Minuten vor der Implosion.
3 minutes before implosion. Announcement grated mechanically from the room speakers. I could hear sharp metallic sounds echoing from somewhere. The walls creaked ominously and the floor
どう
shook.
やら始まったみたい。
Looks like it started. Tsugumi looked at the ceiling and murmured this. Started?
あるいは終わりね。
I guess you could say it is finished. Finished? I looked up at the ceiling, and I couldn't see anything. The heavy reverberations were coming from somewhere far away in the water.
結局
In the end,
私の場所はここだったみたい。
it looks like this is my place. Tsugumi let these words fall from her lips without any expression.
つぐみ何言ってるの？
Tsugumi, what are you talking about?
場所って何？
Place? What place? From her spot on the floor, you raised her head feebly.
ずっと探していてやっとたどり着いたのよ。
I've been searching for so long. Now I finally found it.
ここが私の
This is
死に
my
場所だった。
place to die. Tsugumi stood unsteadily. She dragged her right leg. Tsugumi, what happened to your leg?
ああ、これ？
Oh, this? Tsugumi looked at her leg as if it was the first time that she had noticed.
なんともないはずだったのにね。
It really wasn't anything.
何があっても自分は死ねないと思ってたんだけど、
I kept telling myself I couldn't die no matter what.
それもまた間違いだったのかもしれない。
It looked like I was wrong again.
2 Minuten vor der Implosion.
2 minutes before implosion. Dragging her leg, Tsugumi hobbled toward the door. Tsugumi? Wait. I tried to chase after her, but tripped awkwardly. My hands hit the floor. When I tried to stand, I fell to the floor again. My legs wouldn't move as I wanted. Sprawled out on the floor, my whole body was numb and I couldn't move. What's happening to me? Cough. I started coughing suddenly and put my hand on my mouth. Removing it slowly, I noticed my palm was sticky with blood. Tsugumi, where are you going? My vision began to grow dim. The distance separating us became distorted.
さ
Who knows? Tsugumi tilted her
あ、
head.
仲間ごっこってのもそんなに悪いもんじゃなかったけど、
Pretending to be friends wasn't so bad, but she opened up the flood hatch and went into the infirmary.
もう会うこともないでしょ。
This is probably the last time we'll see each other. Oh, probably. It won't be. If I'm right about how this plays out. Her outline seemed to flicker faintly.
じゃあね。
Goodbye. As Tsugumi walked down the hallway, I lost sight of her. She closed the hatch from the outside. She turned the handle, so I knew that the door was sealed. In that instant, the terrible roar of water from the passageway on the other side of the wall. The watertight hatch groaned and buckled under the tremendous force of the water, but somehow withstood the pressure. Tsugumi!
1 Minute vor der Implosion.
1 minute before implosion. Like, this really surprises me because I didn't think that IBF was going to implode. I thought only Lemu was going to implode. Because Lemu was down to 1 atmosphere, but IBF was still up at 12.5 atmospheres. So it was still at specified pressure. It was structurally, you would think it would be structurally stable. But it's imploding. According to this, IBF's also imploding. What? The alarm from the pod's control panel started shrieking at a high-pitched warning. I turned my head to look over at the source of the noise. The vital signs which should have been displayed on the monitor were no longer moving.
少年
Kid? Kid, no. The alarm wouldn't stop. Its cold, flat tone drowned out the silence. The kid died. The lines weren't moving, no heartbeat, no breathing, nothing. It can't be.
こんなの
gotta be wrong.
誰か嘘だって言って。
Somebody tell me this is all just a bad joke.
クラナリ
Takeshi,
嘘だって言ってよ。
tell me it's a lie. Lying flat on the floor, you started sobbing. A terrible roaring from overhead gradually became louder. It seemed as if the whole floor were trembling. Ignoring the complaints from my body, I used the rest of my strength to pull myself close to you.
クラナリ
Takeshi, where are you? I didn't let you finish your line.
クラナリどこにいるの？
I'm here.
どこにいるの？
Where are you?
手を出して。
Give me your hand. The floor was wet with blood. I somehow slid my arm over to her. Both of you's hands took my right hand, closing around it gently. Her small hands were icy cold.
クラナリ
Takeshi. You came crawling over to me, pulling closer the hand in her grasp. She hugged my hand close and held it to her chest, squeezing it closely, firmly. Think about holding hands to chests in this series. The palm of my hand covered her chest.
嫌だよ。
This.
寒いよ。
It's so cold.
私
I don't want to. I don't want to die. Yu's body was starting to shake. I could tell from my hand pressed against her that she was rapidly losing energy.
クラナリ
Takeshi,
心臓が
my heart.
私の心臓が破裂しそうだよ。
Heart feels like it's going to burst. Her skin and clothes were freezing cold. The only place where warmth remained was her chest, where our hands were touching. Yu's heart was beating so hard it felt like it would explode.
怖い。
I'm scared.
助けて。
Help me.
助けて。クラナリ
Takeshi, help me. Her voice was getting hoarse and she was having trouble breathing. I couldn't move anymore either. I tried to breathe to comfort her, but all that came from a mouth were red drops of blood. Extending my fingers towards you, I ran them over her body to check if she was still alive. Well, that's... It hurts. Her whole body was racked with spasms. Her frame bent, twitching backward. But soon, even her shaking became weaker. She became colder and colder with each passing moment. Only her heart remained beating ferociously. It sounded far away, as though it could almost be my imagination. Takeshi,
私のことなんかなんとも思ってなかっただろうけどさ。
you probably didn't feel anything about me, but... Her voice was devoid of strength. A single tear followed these words.
本当はね、私かなりの
I really liked... Yu's heart made one last frantic burst. After that, I heard nothing. Surprise, you ending! It's like, nothing like imminent death to make suddenly something start. The warmth of her hand was totally gone. The beating of her heart lost forever. In that moment, my vision went red. Panicked, I wiped my face with my hands. Red. Everything was red. I couldn't see anything. We don't know if Tsugumi came down with the deep blue either, so she just kind of walked out, but like she could have survived in there, whatever. All I could feel was slippery warmth. My face was pressed into the floor so hard that I thought it would become part of it. My breathing had stopped. I couldn't move. I couldn't support myself. The floor was cold and hard. My body stiffened and became cold as well. My consciousness faded, disappearing. And from somewhere, the crackling sounds of the communication lines faded away. And that was the last sound I heard. Credits. This might be copyrighted, so it might be muted. I don't know. Is it Chiemi? Yeah, it's still illusory. What's that one last life reading? And I thought it was Sora. I know they say that Sora doesn't appear on the life reading list, but like she has to. Well, she has to for the numbers to add up in the kids route. I think in Takeshi's route, because Peepee's there, if you add the animals in, they can add up to 7. But in order to get 7, you have to add in Sora in the kids route because Peepee's not there. But it could be like Chiemi or something. Although you would think that Tsugumi would take Chiemi with her or something down into IBF. Yeah, that was like really disappointing because I thought how they would make that go is, well, if you escape down to IBF, because IBF is still pressurized, it's evidenced by how they had to pressurize to get down into IBF, that IBF would not implode. And so when they went down into IBF, that would just be like, that would hold out. They would still be able to hold out down there until either the disease killed them or they starved. Now, the disease did kill you and Takeshi and the kid, but it didn't kill Tsugumi. Tsugumi had to die because of an implosion. They didn't have to do that. They could have made it make more physical sense by just having them all die of the disease. Yeah, and it's like the whole back and forth between Sora interact, the scenes with Takeshi doesn't have very many scenes with you. In fact, he only had a couple. One at the Carousel Delphine where she tells Takeshi that she's there to look for her dad, and the one in the security office, where she says that Sora is stored on Incel Knoll. Unlike the kid, there's a lot of scenes with you. And instead, Takeshi spends more time with Sora and Tsugumi. But in the end, who's the last character that he interacts with? And how they have a little moment? You. He's just surprise you. Okay. Yes. Oh, there's no credits. Okay. Wow, that was a bad end then. I hit a bad end. Ouch. Let this play. Yeah, I remember what you said to Takeshi looking at doing that palm reading joke. There's two ways your life can turn out, and it's kind of an all or nothing thing. That was the nothing thing. Well, did good on the kids route the first try and hit a good ending, but Takeshi didn't succeed. Went right to disaster. Okay, let me look and see where I am. 2 out of 11 endings. 78 out of 126 scenes. Okay, more than half. 107 out of 225, so less than half on the pass. 47 out of 114 percentage complete. How is that a percentage? I don't know. Number of screensavers, only 5, still only 5 out of 17. We've got Tsugumi Sora version Bad End, which is the 4th on this list. That's interesting. Huh. So it's like hyphenated, so it's not one or the other. I'm gonna get another piece of paper and pause their coding as I do that. I just realized that Coco didn't necessarily die. We know the kid died in the pod, but what about Coco? And we don't know what happened to Pee either. I mean, the implication was that the whole facility was imploding, so like eventually the like medical center would also implode. But it didn't make it certain, right? Anyway, um, still like way different than I was expecting. I was expecting to be able to like preserve themselves in the facility because like the whatever, like throwing me for a loop. So I don't know. So it doesn't tell you the scene names while you're going through the game. So it doesn't tell you which scene you're on. So it's hard to kind of tell which scene corresponds to which event. So I'm going to try to take a guess. So Airstay Bono and I presume is when Takeshi gets dragged by Tsugumi. Drite stock is the like when they meet each other at the third floor. Zvite stock is where we walk around. You go to like talk to you, Carousel Delphine. You talk to the kid in the gift shop. You talk to Sora in the control room, and so on. Second flooding, that's when they're in the gift shop, whatever it is, whatever the shop is, and then instead of it being basically all but Sector 3 not flooded, it turns into how the map was at the beginning of the kids ending. The bends is where they do the the compression treatment at the end of day 1, and you writes on Takeshi's face. Although this time Takeshi's not on the bed, Coco is, but she still writes on Takeshi's face. Echo. Don't remember what Echo is. Ignore Sora. That was when the power went out, the generator broke, and so then you couldn't get Sora. Archimedes principle. That's when Tsugumi blasts a hole in the egg elevator. Trick. That's when Tsugumi cleans off Takeshi's face with acetone. Walking on the Sky. Don't remember what that is. Kick the Can is when they play Kick the Can. I think Walking on the Sky might have something to do with like a breakfast scene or something. Restoration. I don't remember what happens in that one either. Injury, that's when they go to fix the pipes and Tsugumi gets her leg broken compound. It somehow doesn't affect her for the rest of the game. Short respite, that's when Tsugumi's in the bed and I don't know. They're talking to Coco on the bench. Windblown Sky. I think that's the scene where Sora gives you this lecture about like the fourth dimension and stuff. Sora's rainbow, that's the watering of the plants. Awakening, that's Tsugumi awakening, right? Useless struggle. Is that about explaining to Sora like what love is? Pygmalion, that's uh use speech about falling in love with a statue, which in this case would be like falling in love with a computer. Spirited Away. Um, these how did that come up? I don't remember. Suspicion. Uh, Again, don't know. Three Paths to Sora. Don't know about this. Probably one of those love things. Nibbled Away. That was the nuts. But that's clawing at the nest, though. Huh. Friends. That's something to do with Tsugumi. Oh, that's so Nibbled Away. So Tsugumi is that's Friends is where you find Tsugumi in the pipe room. Clawing at the nest is where you find the uh, the rodent stuff. Missing scene. So this is kind of weird. So between crawling at the nest, working in the dark. Crawling at the nest, clawing at the nest is when you discover like the rodent feed, and but Tsugumi's gone, and then you find Tsugumi in the control room, and then she's looking at where Chammy is. I think lurking in the dark. Don't remember what happens there, unless that's when Tsugumi punches you and then rescues Chammy. Unknown Clouds again. Don't know what's happening there. Missing scene. So then missing scene before Chains. Maybe you get that if you don't press the button. Because Chains happens if so. I'm gonna go back to pressing the button and see if I can get something different to happen there. Chains, I believe, is the scene where you go in the on the gondola. Crisis Point. Don't know. Maybe that's also on the gondola. No, it's past that. Don't remember what happens at the Crisis Point. Missing scene after Crisis Point, of course. After Chains. And then after Sora's conflict with her like debug program, and before she wakes up, there's a missing scene, which kind of can feel the missing scene, right? You time skip just I just woke up in the morning. Takeshi wakes up, there's a missing scene. Then we have Sora's colors. Showdown and is when Sora's arguing with Tsugumi. Deep Blue is when, which seems to inevitably happen next, is when Coco gets Deep Blue. Himmel is when you go into Himmel. IBF is when you go down to IBF. and then the bad ending happens. Unless you bypass it and there's more scenes. 44, 45, 46, 47. Then you end up with this Takeshi spiel, which is the death scene, I presume. And then there's another missing scene. After spiel? That's weird. Okay. So now the question is, I still have like a half an hour left to record on my schedule. So do I try to do, try to find a good ending as Takeshi? Or should I see if I somehow unlocked something in the kids' room? I probably didn't, because I didn't hit a good ending as Takeshi. So I probably didn't unlock anything. How these games usually work is you unlock something when you get a good ending. So I'm going to have to get a good ending. So I'm going to go back and see where I can do that. Which is going to be really hard, but we'll try. Because this is a game, and it's not easy. So, this choice I don't think mattered. But I'll do it, so I don't, yeah, I'm not going to do that one. That was just me taking a break. This didn't matter. This was just opening the Himmel door. Okay, deep blue. Oh, this tells you what scene that happened in. Oh, that will be helpful. Oh, I can get the scene name by just dropping a save or a load. Wow, I didn't notice that before. Okay, that's really useful. Sora's colors. Let's try this one, just for kicks.
どうですか？あるのか、ないのか、わかりますか？
Say she hasn't lied. You haven't, as far as I can tell. You've told jokes, and I don't think you've lied. You've told us yourself, Sora, that you still weren't able to lie very well. I remember you saying that.
ええ、そうです。よく覚えていましたね。倉成さんの回答は、なかなか興味深いです。
So that's the same response. This just propagate to something different. Let's see here. Skip until next plot selection. Let's stop on red? I hope so. Stop on red? I hope so. This is kind of a slow skip. Long scene. Man, this was a long scene. Yeah, I thought this might matter because you might be more on. I don't know. Might be a way to solve like whole Sora's memories being erased thing. There's like a missing scene right after the scene, right? Okay, now we're in Sora's colors, I believe. Okay, we've got the whole burning the sandwich thing. Sora's back to her like logical self. Conversation with the kid. This is past the altercation with the kid, actually. This is the party scene, okay. There's no choices in all of this. That's pretty crazy. A lot of stuff with no choices. So maybe the entire scene Sora's colors has no choices in it? Okay, now we're going to go into the conflict. I don't think this, yeah, this probably doesn't matter. It was worth a try thinking something different. I wonder if I has a way to make the skip faster. No, no choices in all of this. Still not a choice. Wow. Wow. No choices between then and here. That's incredible. Yeah, then this is a you pick two. And then it goes and tell you like, let's go or let's not go. I saw they're gonna hit all right, we're going. All right, we're going. I looked at everyone. Okay, and that just skips all that like extra dialogue that you get if you hit wait a second. So cool. A little diagram down here. Lied, did not lie. Then you have no more choices until you get all the way to the you pick two. So it's a long draw until you get to the you pick two. And then it's go or wait a second. And then it just goes all the way to the end, I think. There's no more choices after that. This goes right to the bad ending. Okay, so you have to back up further. So I don't think either of those choices matter. Like even the one about the lie or not, that one doesn't matter. Actually, I'm going to go back to the choice where I think something really matters. So I'm going to go back to like a significant choice. I know which one I'm thinking of. But now I think I know that there's like no significance in those. So there's a lot of gameplay time in there where there's just like no significance to the choices. Like 3 or 4 episodes worth. Can't skip this. READING1. And then to localize that. Sure, save that I got nothing. Okay. Um, so we're going to go back to... Oh, lurking in the dark is that. Oh, interesting. Interesting theme between crawling in the nest and lurking in the dark. Okay. Useless struggle is about the whole thing about being in love. Wait. Okay. Starting to learn the scene names now. Apologize, I don't say awakening is okay, makes sense. So, this is what I think is going to make a big difference. So I'm going to try to load it and see what happens.
ここだとなんですから、外行きませんか？
This room is well. Do you want to go outside? Don't go. Actually, I want to stay here a little bit longer if you don't mind. It isn't often that you get to see Tsugumi being so still and docile. Oof.
そうですか。
Really? Yeah, can't you talk to me here? No, you've got to be wondering about the big secret. Now you've got me wondering what the big secret is.
倉成さん、
Takeshi?
内緒だからここでは話せないんですよ。
I can't talk to you here because it's confidential. Oh, right, that makes sense. Let's
い
see.
え、大した話ではないですから、また今度にしましょうか。
Never mind, it's not a big deal. We can discuss it later.
では、失礼しますね。
If you'll excuse me then. Sora left smiling. I turned my attention again to Tsugumi's sleeping face. Okay, I'm going to save. Yeah, that was big change. Tsugumi, save. And then I'm going to go to options menu. Let's see, skip mode, already read, or all. Yeah, okay, good. Cool, so we're going to take about 20 minutes to go into this a little bit. I turned my attention again to Tsugumi's sleeping face. She didn't say anything. Of course, it was normal for Tsugumi to not talk about herself. But now she wasn't saying anything at all. I wanted to hear something. As soon as possible. Anything. I didn't care. I just wanted to hear Tsugumi's voice again. I began to believe that I could bear even her harshest, most cutting words. What? I turned my head, sure I had been mistaken. The lift to the decompression chamber was moving on its own. Sure enough, it was moving. I ran over and peered into the square hole where the lift was. The lift had gone down and stopped. That's strange. I pushed the button to call the lift and jumped in. I would go down to the decompression chamber. No one was in the room. Was the lift malfunctioning? I reached out my hand to push the button to take me back up. In that second, something crossed my line of vision. The sound of tiny footsteps was growing fainter. Very tiny. I could tell that they were running through the emergency corridor. I turned into the corridor and followed the sound. I didn't think there were human footsteps. Maybe it's Pee-Pee. But if Pee-Pee had separated from Coco, he surely wouldn't be in a place like this. I sensed that the owner of the footsteps was something smaller. It seemed to be running with quite some momentum, sometimes even crashing into walls. It was in a desperate hurry. In any case, it's an animal of some kind. But what is it? It bothered me that it had run out of the infirmary. The footsteps turned off the corridor and straight into a dead end. I had followed right up until that point, but somehow I lost it. Maybe it fell down the stairs along the corridor, or climbed into a duct and jumped down the floor. That clever little... Maybe it was a rat? Could be. It wouldn't be so strange for Lemu to have rats. In which case, this is stupid. What the hell am I doing chasing after a rat? Scratching my head, I retraced my steps. Before I got back to the lift, I glanced back into the decompression chamber and noticed for the first time that the bed was looking dirty. Hey, who ate their dinner here? There were small breadcrumbs on the bed. Hey, you.
はい。
Yeah? I got out of the lift and stomped over to where you and the kid were still in the middle of their repair efforts. Who was eating bread in the decompression chamber?
はあ？なんですって？
Huh, what are you talking about? You frowned and turned the hand holding the screwdriver toward me.
知らないよ、そんなの。
How would I know?
僕も知らない。
I don't know either. The kid had insulation tape wrapped around his fingers.
倉成、あんたじゃないの？
Takeshi, you sure it wasn't you? Why would it be me if I'm the one asking about it? I mean, it doesn't really matter who it was, but don't you think we'd better be a little more careful?
何を？
Careful of what? I think there is a rat in here just now. There was a rat in here just now. If we leave food laying around, it might get eaten.
ああ、それなら確かに気をつけた方がいいかも。
Oh, in that case, I guess we should be more careful.
今のところ売店に十分な食料があると思うけど、荒らされたらたまらないもんね。
We've got plenty of food in the kiosk for now, but it would be awful if it was broken into.
ネズミ捕り必要かな？
Do you think we should try to catch it? I don't think we need to go that far.
あ、少年、もしかしてネズミ捕りの作り方知ってるの？
Hey kid, you don't happen to know how to make a rat trap, do you?
さあね。
Who knows?
知ってたかどうかよくわからないよ。
I don't really know if I know how or not. The kid laughed and shrugged his shoulders exaggeratedly. We met at the chicken sandwich stand and ate as scheduled. In the end, I didn't fix anything for dinner.
それにしてもさ、たけし。
Hey Takeshi. What?
竜田サンド以外の食べ物は作れないの？
Can we fix anything besides chicken sandwiches? Okay, can I skip this? Yes, I can. As long as the skip mode is behaving how it is advertised, which it might not be. Okay, this Pygmalion. That was just the rain scene, okay. I'm going to put a save here. I'm going to try the one I haven't tried yet. Save. Say nothing. I didn't know how to respond to that. I had saved Tsugumi, and yet I had caused Tsugumi to get hurt. From here on, I just didn't know what to say. All I could do was stare blankly, silently, and then bow my head. There was nothing else I could do.
何よ。
What?
何なのよ。
What is it? I raised my head. Tsugumi was glaring at me
勘
again.
違いしないで。
You don't understand.
私は傷のことなんて何とも思ってない。
I don't care about this injury.
あなたは自分のせいだとでも言いたいの？
Do you want me to say it's your
う
fault?
ぬぼれないでよ。
Don't be conceited. Tsugumi sighed heavily.
私はただ
It's just that.
死にたかっただけ。
Just that I wanted to die.
なん
What?
で助けたりなんかしたの？
How come you had to save me?
あのままほっといてもらえれば、
You left me alone.
死ねたのに。
I could have finally died. What? I jumped up from the bed, shaking my fist furiously. Okay. It should be the same after that, right? Oh, and because of that, I couldn't forgive her. I slammed my fist on the bed violently. Tsugumi, you stupid little... How dare you say that so lightly? I looked straight at her and screamed. When you die, it's game over. You understand that, right? Oh, that was meta. Have you forgotten about us? What we're facing here? Now, it was me glaring at Tsugumi. It wasn't as if she had actually done something wrong. But that didn't mean I could forgive her for saying that. She
あな
snorted.
たにはわからないのよ。
You don't understand, Takeshi.
人生なんてただの悪夢。
Life is a nightmare.
この世の中で命ほど醜いものはない。
This world is littered with ugliness. Touch your poetic garbage. Wham. Again, I pummeled the bed with my fists. Life, it's the most important thing in this world. It's a miracle life is.
違う。奇跡なんかじゃない。
You're wrong. This is no miracle.
この果てしなく広い宇宙の中で
In this ever-expanding universe, as we make more and more games,
無限に連なる時間の中で生命現象ほど奇特なものはない。
continuing infinitely, this phenomenon called life is no miracle.
不自然なのよ。
It's unnatural.
生命はこの不毛なる世界に紛れ込んだ異物。
And it's an accident that we awoke in this disgusting world. Wrong. You're wrong, Tsugumi. I hesitated for a moment. You're unbelievably
どこ
wrong.
がどう間違ってるの？
Where am I wrong?
説明してごらんなさいよ。
Come on, tell me where I'm mistaken. All emotion left her face. She spoke plainly and precisely.
命は欲望の塊。
Life is just a cluster of empty desires.
生命は他の生命の犠牲によって成り立つ。
We build our lives on the corpses of others.
牛を殺し、豚を殺し、鳥を殺し、魚を殺し、植物を殺し。
We kill cows, pigs, birds, fish, and plants.
そうしなければ人は生き続けることができない。
And if we don't, we die. Well, it's theoretically possible, and some people do it, just kill plants.
食欲とはすなわち殺戮本能の源。
Our appetites are whetted by the slaughtering of others.
睡眠欲は怠惰の証。
Our desire for sleep only proves our laziness.
卑猥でみだら、醜悪なる交わりこそが性欲の発露。
Our sexual desires are expressed through obscenity and sin. Why are you talking about sin, but also saying you were there by accident? This is conflicting worldviews here.
あらゆる生命活動に伴う欲望は汚らわしい。
All the things that keep us alive, the things that drive us, are filthy.
欲望なくして生命を維持することはできない。
We can't live without them.
清廉潔白な命なんて存在しないのよ。
There is no such thing as life or purity.
つまり
Ultimately,
命はそれが存在した時点ですでに汚濁にまみれているの。
once we are born, we are already corrupted. And that is why you want to die?
ええ、そうよ。
Yes. I became quiet, contemplating what Tsugumi just said. Like, she mixed, there's just this accident and that's unnatural with the depravity of man. Which, an accident and unnatural are antithetical, so... this goes into another big rant. Okay. If you claim that man is a product of just of random process, things just kind of happened and then man occurs, right? Then man is part of just things happening. So the things man does, man is part of nature because particles move like particles, like waves, stuff propagates forward, man happens. Man performing actions and making decisions is also the propagation of things forward. It's just the like laws of physics playing out and things just propagating forward. So everything we do is just things propagating forward. So all the heinous things that all the genocide we commit, that's just physics happening. It's just the laws of physics, things propagating forward. That's killing animals and eating them. That's just the laws of physics. That's just Schrodinger's. That's just the Dirac equation or whatever. Whatever. Just like stuff propagates forward, right? If humans destroying nature doesn't really make a lot of like putting humans on a pedestal and saying we have this duty to protect nature doesn't make any sense, because if man causes an extinction and destroys its own world, that's just that's just propagation. Man is just nature. If something is just nature, man is also just nature. And you observe what man does the same way you observe everything else does. It's just nature. So you don't say a man is evil or corrupted or whatever, because that concept doesn't exist. Everything's just propagation. It just is that way. It is not by evil that man does evil. It's just the laws of physics play out. Particles move and propagate, and then that happens. Right? It could not have possibly happened any other way, aside from perhaps quantum probabilistic stuff. To get sin, to get corruption, to get depravity, to get judgmental of man, you have to introduce a standard of morality to somehow, and you have to introduce God. You can't have it both ways. I know people have tried to write books, or like, we could have morality without God. I haven't read them because, well, I have no interest in actually knowing what they have to say about the subject, and just plain flat doesn't work. I don't know, like, if you're going to claim something that's false, it's going to be false no matter how you try to back it up. So when you have this thing of like, where I'm just an accident, but then I'm also just a sinner, it doesn't make sense. And Uchiko's just throwing a bunch of words together to make it sound a certain way and not making any cohesiveness out of it. And if you're wondering which way I go, for the record, I go God. I don't go accident. So I will not tell you that you are here by accident. Okay. Let's continue. I became quiet, contemplating what Tsugumi just said. Heh. This time, it was just me laughing. I thought you were smarter than that, but I guess I overrated you. You have a point, and I think you're partly right. I'll admit it. In order for us to live, it's true that we must commit some atrocities. Sometimes people do terrible, despicable things. But do you really think living is a sin? Thinking life is a sin is the result of arrogant values. You don't really think it's a crime for a bird to snatch fruit from a tree, do you? Does a tiger feel guilt by eating its prey? Is it really a terrible thing to join together and create new life? Now, if you're wondering what I think about veganism, I have to look this up, so I'm gonna have to stall a little bit here. Let's look for Genesis 8, I believe. Continue. Yeah, sorry for the delay here. Oh, goodness. This is after, like, after Noah. Anyway, after the flood of Noah, God basically said, "I give you all of the creatures of the all of the animals for food." I can't find the verse here. Oh, here we go. The fear of you and the terror of you will be on every animal of the earth, and every bird of the sky, and everything that crawls on the ground, and on all the fish of the sea. They are handed over to you. Every moving thing that is alive shall be food for you. I have given everything to you. I gave the green plant, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. I certainly will require your lifeblood. From every animal I will require it, and from every person and from every man as his brother I will require the life of a person. So basically, don't kill each other, and then I think in the, and always make sure that your meat is well drained. Which we do usually nowadays because blood in the meat tastes disgusting. Anyway, continuing. Is it really a terrible thing to join together and create new life? Yeah, but there's a lot of joining together and not creating new life, or at least attempting to and failing that goes on. Everything that is necessary to continue living is not only right, I believe it is sacred. The birds, the tigers, the ants, even the grass. They all work so hard to live, it's a beautiful thing. And to love the lives of others is just as important as loving yourself. You have to realize that, don't you?
バカみたい。
It's ridiculous. Tsugumi frowned. Stop pretending to be so cold. I wanted to kick the bed over, yet I resisted somehow. So what I'm wondering here is, what triggered this? Was this not going with Sora? Or is this like choosing the other option on that say nothing or apologize? Huh. Alright, so how did you protect Coco? Why did you sacrifice yourself to save Coco? I don't know exactly what happened back there, but I do know that you are avoiding the truth. You are desperately trying to deny life. Everyone desires to be born out of life. You only want to believe they are wrong to prove your selfish point. You are holding on obstinately living while all you want to do is die. Your logic is completely backwards. Yeah, if you want to die, why don't you just off yourself? It's not that hard. Life should be unconditionally embraced. Everyone lives for the sake of living. By definition, living beings must have life. If love is beautiful, then so is life.
あなたは何も分かってない。
You don't understand a thing. Yeah, I don't understand. We've known each other for what, just 3 days? I don't know a thing about you. But I know for sure that what I'm saying is 100% true. So, don't say that you want to die. I won't let you say it. I bit my lip as I stared at Tsugumi. If I were Tsugumi, I would just flippantly say, I want to die. I had told Tsugumi exactly how I felt, no holding back, no regrets. I don't want her to say it anymore. I didn't even want to have to say those things. You survived for a reason, Tsugumi. Don't say you want to throw that away. UCG. Tsugumi let all the tension slip from her shoulders. Her eyes suddenly lit up.
そうね。
Yeah,
分かったわ。
I get it. What, had I finally gotten through to her? I couldn't help but smile. A smile appeared on her lips. She glanced up at me and muttered
よ
something.
く分かったわ。
I understand perfectly.
あなたが偽善者だってことが。
You are a total hypocrite.
倉成さん、どうでしたか、小町さんは。
Takeshi, what happened? Where is Tsugumi? Sora was waiting just outside the door with a worried expression on her face. She's alive.
え、
Really? But she wished she were dead.
倉成さん、本当に言われたんですか、そんなこと。
Takeshi, did she really tell you that? Yep, it's true. It's unfortunate, but she didn't get what she wanted, death.
でも、だからって、そんな。
But you don't have to. Sora's voice quivered as she spoke. You know, I should have never even helped save...
倉成さん、
Takeshi,
やめてください。
Please stop this.
そんな言い方ってないと思います。
You should not say things like that.
ひどいです。見損なってしまいます。
It is awful. I am so disappointed in you. I'm sorry. Now you're upset, Sora. Yeah, when Sora said that you made a big I'm pretty sure it was the go or don't go, because Sora just said, you just made a big branch point. Yeah. I'm not myself right now. I'm heading back to bed even though I know I can't sleep. I raised my hand weakly and farted with Sora. Sora stood by the entrance of the medical room, frozen without movement. Can I skip now? I can't. Okay. The fact that she was eating meant that at least her body was determined to live. If she would just continue this tendency and get well, I thought there'd be no more problems. Wait, that was a contradiction. All the things that keep us alive, the things that drive us, are filthy. There is no such thing as a life of purity. The appetites necessary to stay in life are evil. But then, after all, she demolished 3 whole sandwiches without even flinching. Well, maybe she just accepts her evilness. Well, then again, I was the one who told Coco to take the sandwiches down because it'll be bad if she doesn't eat something. So I was contradicting my earlier stance too, but something strange was going on. What's the deal? The word hypocrite came to mind. Who is the hypocrite now, Tsugumi? Tsugumi, what are you thinking? I couldn't help but feel resentment rising in my chest.
どうしたのタケピョン。
What's the matter, Takepyon?
なんか怖い顔してる。
Let's see, can I skip now? No, I can't. Your face got all scary for a moment. It's nothing. Still can't skip. I didn't want to show my sullen mood. I didn't even want to be thinking about her anymore. Waving my one hand, I tried my best to sweep my mood away.
そっか、よかった。
Oh, good.
さっきのサンド食べてお腹壊したのかと思っちゃった。
I thought maybe those sandwiches had given you a tummy ache. Why, did you put something in there that would make me sick?
タケピョン、聞きたい？
No, Takepyon, do you really want to know?
何が入ってても後悔しないよね。
You won't be sorry, right? No, stop. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. Just imagining the possibilities was making my stomach hurt. Gathering my wits, I went to the bench with you and the kid where you and the kid were sitting. Coco and Pee-Pee trotted along beside me.
ねえ、ユウ。空はどこに行ったの？
Okay, I can skip now. Okay, drop save. Let's see here. I went to see Tsugumi. I told the truth.
つぐみに？
Tsugumi? I was going to take a walk when Sora came up and told me that Tsugumi had woken up. I didn't want her to start wandering around and hurt herself, so I rushed right over to the infirmary.
ああ、そうか。なんだ。
Oh, is that it?
そういえば確かさっき空からちょっとだけ聞いたよ。つぐみが目を覚ました時のこと。
Actually, I guess I did hear pretty much the same thing from Sora, how Tsugumi woke up. What? So you knew all along?
ごめん。ちょっと倉成のことからかってみようかなと。
Sorry, just thought I'd give you a hard time. Man,
でも、僕たちも呼んでくれればよかったのに。
you should have called us too. You're right, I wasn't thinking. Well, I don't know about you, kid, but you was dead to the world. I didn't figure it'd be any good to try to wake you guys up.
何よ。
Hey. Okay, can I skip now? Yes. I may have hurt Sora's feelings, but always smiled and said she didn't mind, but what would I say when I saw her?
で、あるからして。
So now maybe Tsugumi, instead of rushing out at the last minute, will try to use the pods. Maybe that's it. Hopefully. Let's try something different here. Voice disagreement. I raised my hand and declared, I object.
はい
Yes? What's happily ever after about that story? It doesn't make any sense to me.
なんでよ
Why not? Pygmalion just had an obsession with his sculpture. He didn't work, he stayed inside talking to her, thinking, oh, if only my statue was a real beautiful woman. What a dark, depressing story, Pygmalion. I don't see anything happy about that. He just happened to have his selfish request granted by a goddess, the end.
分かってないねお客さん
Listen, you don't get it at all. You shook her finger at me.
話の本質はそこではないのだよハドソンくん
That's not the point of the story, Takeshi. She threw back her shoulders and started talking again.
このピグマリオンの話はね
Story of Pygmalion
望んで願い努力を怠らなければそれは叶うというそのことを言い表してるのよ
shows that if you hope and ask and preserve, your wish will come true.
魂込めて作った彫像を本気で愛しいつか言葉を返してくれると信じたからこそピグマリオンの願いは叶ったんだから
Skip now? Yes. I left a choice behind, but I don't know if that choice really matters. Yeah, this changes again because we didn't lie. So
安静にしてなきゃならないのは確かだけど
I wonder how she's doing. In any case, she needs rest. Well, worrying about her won't make her better any faster.
つぐみに何かあれば、空がすぐ知らせてくれるんじゃない？
Sora would let us know if anything had happened to her, right?
そうだね救護室の医療用コンピューターのデータはレミが常に監視してるはずだし
Yeah, and Lim is always guarding the data in the infirmary's medical computer.
そのレミが何も報告してこないってことはつぐみはちゃんとおとなしく寝てるってことよ
Since Lemay hasn't come to us with any news, it means that Tsugumi is probably sleeping peacefully. We know, because I've already played this, that she's not. Still can't skip.
じゃあ安心だね。
Well, that's a relief.
そうそう心配ないピョロリーン
Hey, nothing to worry about, Arun. Woof. Yeah. I still can't skip. Say Coco.
何
Yeah, what? What language is about Arun?
ここ
Cocoese. Huh?
語ここだよ
Cocoese.
貯金頑固一徹親父だらけの寒中水泳大会
Oh, obstinate stubbornness. Geezer's going swimming in the winter.
ピョロリンもあるよ
It's about Taru, too. Coco is always in upbeat mood. In upbeat mode. Okay. It's letting me skip again. You can't just let her be. What if her injury gets worse? And besides, I want to hear a good explanation for why she ran off like this.
あクラナリ
Those two lines were different, apparently. Tagumi had pushed herself despite her injury and gone off all alone. Did she really mean to kill herself? Was she actually trying? Then maybe I should just let her. But still, I wanted to give her a piece of my mind first. I hope she would stay alive long enough for me to tell her all that I wanted to say. Okay, it's letting me skip again. It wouldn't do to lose my temper right off the bat. I suppressed the urge to shout. She was injured after all. So the silly skirt lookup thing. Sure. I shot back trying to make a crack in the wall she had made. I came here on my own. I left the others. Because I heard that you came here on your own.
なんでそんなことするの？
Why would you do that? Because my hurt friend suddenly went missing, that's why. Of course I came looking for you.
仲間？頼んだ覚えもなければ言われもないわ。
I didn't ask you to come, and there's no reason for you to be here. Ooh, different. It's not as Billie Eilish.
私は他のみんなとは違うの。勝手に仲間扱いしないでくれる？
Okay, that's the same. Tsugumi, cut it out. I snapped. I clenched my fist. Then I shoved it in her face. But I stopped just in front of her nose. She didn't even flinch. Believe me, I don't want to be friends with someone like you. But we don't have a choice, okay? Don't you want to get out of here as soon as possible? As long as we're in the same boat, we're friends. Okay? Same line, but it still won't let me skip. Japan, people with the same goal are called friends.
仲間？
Friends?
仲間。仲間。
Still won't let me
仲間
skip
仲
this.
間。またそう。あなたはそんなことを言ってばかり。
There you go again, just saying that. Oh, let me skip a few lines. Tsugumi's voice stayed completely cool. There was no place for my raised fist to go.
それからもう一つ。
And one more thing.
あなた、昨日私が言ったこと聞いてなかったの？
Weren't you listening to me yesterday?
私は脱出したいなんて思ってないから。
I don't want to escape.
だから、仲間なんかじゃないの。
Isn't that the same line, though? So I'm not your friend.
日本でも、ドイツでもアメリカでも同じ。
Okay, so let me skip a few lines. I lowered my hand. I couldn't say anything. Giving me a glance, she moved toward the door, dragging her foot. Okay, this is the upskirt. Okay, that was the same. This is the same too. So that was basically the same, but it still wouldn't let me skip it. Okay, several hours went by. In the end, I hung around in Lamu by myself and just killed some time. I didn't see Tsugumi during that time. I decided to have an early dinner. Yukoko and the kid had finished their meal and moved to the rest area where they were relaxing and letting their food digest. Okay then. I'd almost finished tidying up the kiosk. Hehehe. I pulled out the object I had secretly hidden behind the warmer. This is the hot dog scene, but I can't skip it, even though it seems like it's the same. Actually, there had been one sausage left at the back of the refrigerator. Same thing. Same thing. Same thing.
タケピョン、何してるの？
Oh, it's different because Coco appears instead of Sora. Okay. Oh, Takeshi, there you are. Oof. Surprised by Coco's voice, I choked on a piece of sausage. Coco appeared in front of me.
タケピョン、どうしたの？しっかりして。
Takeshi, are you alright? Cough, cough. Blinking and struggling, I finally managed to swallow the chunk of meat. I swallowed the rest of the sausage in one bite to remove the evidence. I struggled to control my breathing. Coco?
何？
What? Not a word about what you just saw, okay?
いいけど。
Okay, sure, but...
タケピョン、さっきサンド食べてなかったみたいだったから。
Takepyon, you didn't eat your sandwich before.
そっか、みんなの食事が終わってからゆっくり食べるつもりだったんだね。
Oh, I see. You were saving it to eat later. Yeah, that's it.
なんだ、そっかそっか。よかったよかった。
That was all. Oh, good.
食欲ないのかと思って、ここちょっぴり気にしてたんだ。
I was worried about you. I thought you'd lost your appetite. No, I'm fine. I ate. I scratched my head. Sorry, Coco. I was selfishly eating a sausage all by myself. Please forgive me. Inside, I apologized silently to her.
あ、そうだ。
Oh, that reminds me.
タケピョン、タケピョン。さっきソラさん から聞いたんだけど、
Takepyon, I talked to Sora.
ソラさんがね、つぐみんと少し話をしてきたって言ってたよ。
Guess what? Sora said she spoke to Tsugumi. Oh, really? Surprised, I blinked. She spoke to Tsugumi?
つぐみん救護室に戻ってきたんだって。
Yeah, when she went back to the infirmary. Really?
それでなんかね、つぐみん救護室でソラさんに会ったら、
And when Tsugumi ran into Sora in the infirmary,
ちょっとやりすぎちゃった、機械とか壊しちゃってごめんねって言って部屋を片付けたりしたんだって。
she apologized for going all crazy and smashing the stuff. She even cleaned up the mess. Apologized? Tsugumi?
ココはそう聞いたよ。
Yep, that's what Coco heard. I was surprised. No, I was really surprised. What else? Did you hear anything else?
他にうーんと、
Anything else? Well,
ソラさん、つぐみんに質問されたんだって。
Sora said Tsugumi was asking questions and stuff. Asking questions.
ちょっと変わった質問。
Yeah, she asked her a really silly question. A strange question? What'd she ask?
どんなのだったかな。は、そうそう。
And what was it? Oh, yeah.
私の過去について何か知っているかっ
Do you know about my past?
てな感じなことをつぐみんがソラさんに聞いて、
Something like that. And?
ソラさんは知らないって答えたんだって。
Sora said she didn't know anything.
つぐみんはそれで納得したみたい。
I guess Tsugumi was satisfied. Wow, this is like she said, but it's accurate. Is that it?
それだけ。
Yep, that's it. Oh,
確かにちょこっと変な質問かもね。
come to think about it, that is kind of a silly question. Yes, it was very weird. Coco, where's Tsugumi now? I said this trying to restrain my sense of urgency.
救護室にいると思うよ。
I think she's still in the infirmary.
ベッドに寝てるんだって。ソラさんがそう言ってた。
She went to bed, at least that's what Sora said. Bed? She went back to the infirmary and went to bed?
そのはずだよ。
Yeah, I think. Are you sure? Is that where she is now?
多分。
Probably. Probably, huh? Alright then, I think I'll go and check on her. What is it? What, Coco? Is there something on my face? For some reason, Coco was staring at my face. She laughed
タ
quietly.
ケピョンってつぐみんのこと好きなんだね。
You like Tsugumi, don't you? Huh? You gotta be kidding me. There's no way.
そうかな。
Really? I wonder.
ここにはタケピョンの顔にそう書いてあるみたいに見えたんだけどな。
Seems to me like it's written all over your face. Huh? Flustered, I rubbed at my face. Nothing came off in my hands. At least nobody had been writing on my face again. Coco, watching me, had a smile as bright as the sun. I left Coco and went to the second floor infirmary. Alright, let me skip all of that. Okay. Maybe. Now that I thought about it, I remembered having seen a rat running out of the infirmary. So was Tsugumi keeping a rat in here? The evidence would seem to point to that. In that case, has she gone looking for her pet? But where exactly? Maybe I should ask Sora. I called Sora from the infirmary terminal. But she didn't appear. Huh? Is this broken? They're gonna get punched.
勘違いしないで。
Don't get me wrong.
私はただあなたの偽善的な行動を見たくないだけ。
I just don't want to watch you pull this hypocritical stunt is all.
偽善を信じ偽善の果てに死んでいくようなバカバカしい光景を見たくないだけ。
I don't want to see you kill yourself because you believe this hypocrisy. Wait, you care if I kill myself? How can you say that? That's not a nice thing to say. I laughed at her as I loosened my limbs and body. I'll be fine. You go back to the security office.
え？
What? When I get through to the other side, you can tell me where the hamster is. We won't be able to locate him without Lemire, will we? Won't let me skip. So unless someone who can operate Lemire stays behind, it won't work.
でも
But, okay then, it's settled. I finished warming up and adjusted the voice converter in my ear. Sora had told me that the earphone was pressure resistant, but hadn't said anything about whether it was waterproof. See you later. I ruffled Tsugumi's hair and started down the ladder. Oh, okay. Yep. My toes reached the bottom of the ladder. I let go of the ladder and leaped into the emergency corridor. Wow, it's cold. It was like swimming in ice water. The water here was much colder than the water higher up. In fact, this is like you could get hypothermia before you run out of air. I had greatly miscalculated. And that wasn't the only thing I'd miscalculated. Inside the corridor was pitch black. I tried to use my PDA backlight. I couldn't see that there were parallel walls on either side of this part of the corridor. I could see that there were parallel walls on either side, and this part of the corridor was straight. But that was all I could see. I knew nothing of what was beyond that. At this point, the PDA batteries ran out. Oh crap. No using this for a while. There was nothing for it but to grope my way forward. How far had I swum? How much further did I need to go? I had no way of guessing. I didn't even know if I was swimming in the right direction. I just kept swimming in the darkness. Just keep swimming. It was terrifying. And Tsugumi did this. As my breath got tighter, I could feel the fear spreading through my body. And when you start running out of breath, like your arms start tingling. So I've done things like this. I might just die here. As afraid as I was able to consider dying quite calmly. I was caught in the illusion that I was sinking further and further down. The darkness penetrated my very core. The shadow of death crept through my whole body, eroding my every cell. I can't last much longer. Just as my fear reached its peak, I glimpsed a spot of light. The exit. Was it 30 feet or 60 maybe? I don't know if they're going to do this thing where it just kind of comes out the way you went in. I've done that in games. My vision was cloudy and I couldn't judge the distance. I was reaching my limit. No, I had probably already exceeded it. I refer to Legend of Matanui. Anyway, the light was shining beyond the darkness. My body was screaming at my cramping fingers stretched out to the light. It's like, this is when you run out of energy in your Ruru. A little further, just a little further, the light is right. There. My hand grabbed the ladder. I wasted no time in fixing the rope on the hook. I pulled myself upwards. I scaled the ladder so quickly, as quickly as I could, and burst out into the corridor. Gah! I breathed deeply in and out. I coughed and spat. I felt like I was going to cough the darkness right out of my lungs. Ugh. But contrary to my expectations, gah! What erupted from my mouth was the semi-liquid remains of my hot dog. Oh, he pukes it either way, okay. I was a little cold, but I shook my head to clear it and continued my search for the hamster. The flood doors on either side of the corridor were shut tight. There was only one other door. I went through. Hey, Mr. Hamster. That probably wasn't its name, but never mind. It was better than yelling, Mr. Jongarian.
たけし、大丈夫？
Takeshi, are you alright? I heard Tsugumi's voice come out through a speaker somewhere in the
そっ
room.
ちの音声はモニターできてる。そちらも聞こえていたら返事して。
I'm picking up your sound in the monitor. If you can hear me, answer. Okay, Tsugumi, I can hear
状
you.
況は？
What can you see? The room is pitch dark. I can't see a thing. Either the lights are broken or there's not enough power. My trusty PDA is out of power. I should have brought some fireflies with me.
何か言った？
Did you say something? Nothing. If you pick up the hamster's location, let me know.
ええ。
Okay.
そのまままっすぐ進んで。3メートル。
When did Owl City song come out? This came out in 2002. Owl City Fireflies. 2009, so way later. Okay. 1, 2, 3, okay.
そこで右に40度ターンして。
Turn right 40 degrees. 40 degrees? What kind of angle is that? It's almost 45 degrees, okay?
ちょっとそれ右じゃなくて左回りじゃないの？
Hey, you just turned left, not right. Are you sure? The other way?
本当に大丈夫なの？
Are you sure you're okay? It was just the wrong direction. I'm fine. Look, I'm facing the right direction now.
もう
Oh.
前進。次は4メートル30。足元に段差があるわ。気をつけて。
Go straight ahead another 12 feet. There's a step there. Be careful. Use 8 to 5 step size to accurately measure 12 feet. If any of you recognize 8 to 5 step size from something. What? How can I be careful in the dark? Wow.
どうしたのよ？
What happened?
たけし、たけし、しっかりして。
Takeshi, are you alright?
ちょっと返事してよ。ねえ。
Talk to me, Takeshi. Takeshi? It's alright, I'm alive. Can you let me know how high the steps are going to be? I didn't realize I would be smashing my knee against it.
ごめんなさい。
I'm sorry. Okay, go on. Is Mr. Hamster still here? He hasn't run away?
ええ、ちゃんといるわ。
He's still there. Okay, navigate me.
了解。
Alright. On I went like that. Alright, I've got you. I successfully trapped the hamster in the plastic bag. On my way back, wait for me in the pipe
え
room.
え、わかったわ。
Alright, hope you got that. Hope that bag doesn't have a leak. I went out into the light of the corridor and checked the hamster. Okay, he was quiet but seemed healthy. Also, do it fast before it runs out of air. I blew more air into the bag and tied the mouth of it shut tight. Tired as I was, could I get back to the way I had come? I hesitated, but unless I went back, it was all pointless. As I followed the rope, I should be able to get back faster than I had come. I tied the bag to my waist, took a deep breath, and jumped into the water. Fwa. I climbed up the pipe ladder and stuck my head out of the hatch. I made it back safely to the area I had started from. Honey, I'm home. Tsugumi was waiting beside the hatch. Look what the cat dragged in. Me, well, here I am, I'm back.
おかえり。
He'll come back. I closed the hatch and stood up. I opened the plastic bag at my waist and took out the hamster. Oh, here's where that screensaver came from. Okay. Tsugumi grabbed the hamster. Lovingly, she stroked his damp fur.
ありがとう。
Thank you. Tsugumi whispered her gratitude without looking at me. What's his real name? I looked at the hamster.
笑わないでね。
Now don't laugh. Okay, I won't.
絶対によ。
You promise? I promise. He's gonna laugh.
この子の名前は
His name is Chammy.
チャーミングだから。チャミ。
Chammy because he's charming. Chammy. That's cute. That's a good name. How cute. That's what I thought. I did my best to stifle my laughter.
ああ、ずるい。笑わないって言ったのに。
Hey, you promised not to laugh. I'm not laughing. I tried to keep a straight face, but the corners of my mouth started to twitch. Chammy. Charming Chammy. Well, Chammy Poo. Chammy Poo. It's Din time. I could just imagine Tsugumi baby talking to it. Chammy Poo? Oh no. Woof.
ああ、
Arg.
もう。だから言いたくなかったのに。
That's why I didn't want to tell you. Sullen Tsugumi was red-faced, but she held out the bath towel she had behind her back. Oh, thanks. I took the towel and wiped myself down. Whew. I breathed deeply, feeling reborn as I glanced at Tsugumi's face. She was playing with the hamster in her hand, and her cheeks were bright. She looked so happy. It was the first time I'd ever seen her smile. Darkness spread out before my eyes. Without limit, it spread nothingness. The void was endless, and I was in the middle of it. I could find nothing by which to judge distance. Can I skip this? Yes. Okay, I'm gonna save here. And I'm gonna find this choice back. Yeah, I'm gonna try to whoops, cancel. I'm gonna go to the load menu. I'm going to load here. Whoops. Cool. I'm gonna hit don't push the button. Absentmindedly, I stared at the elevator call button. At that moment, the button was truly meaningless. Still, I had thought about reaching out to push it again, but decided against it.
こんばんは。
Hi. Hearing a voice from behind me, I turned my head. And there was Tsugumi standing quietly. It just skips, right? So this plays out the same. Okay. So I choose this one. Yeah, I know which it is. Okay.
ええ。クバレはこのエレベータールームのすぐ裏手にあるの。
Okay. So this is going to happen regardless. Okay, I'm gonna.
これはたけしじゃないんだ。
So I'm gonna put the save here just so that it highlights those choices like I've done them, but not important. Okay, just saying to see if there's a way to avoid that scene because it would be nice because it seems like I was on this very Sora differentiated route, and then that scene made her mad at me. So it'd be nice to avoid going on the gondola with Tsugumi in that route. It doesn't look like it's really that easy to do. Now on this route, you do want to do that, of course. Okay, now it's load here. I know, and skip.
「あなたに話したいことがあったの。
Now this changes. Okay, I've been wanting to talk to you about what?
ええ。話しておきたいこと。
Well, some things I need to say.
言っておきたいの。伝えておきたいの。
Things to say, things I need to let you know.
今ここでなら決して誰の邪魔も入ることがない。
And I figured no one could interrupt here. It must really be something important. Something serious.
私にとってはね。
Yeah, well, at least for me it is. Having her approach me to talk was unusual. Tsugumi fixed her eyes firmly on mine. Her eyes were serious, with no sign of mischief in them. Whatever the consequences, I had to listen.
12年前、
12 years ago,
2005年8月、
in August of 2005,
ある夏の日、
on a summer day,
私は感染した。
I was infected.
とあるウイルスに感染した。
I was infected with a virus.
そう。2005年、12年前。
Yes, 2005, 12 years ago.
私がまだ12歳だった時のこと。
I was only 12 years old at the time. A virus? Yeah. And you are still infected?
そうよ。
Yeah.
私はキャリアなの。
I'm a carrier. A carrier? What? Wait a second. Come on. Wait just a second here. You mean to tell me 12 years ago, at age 12? I mean, usually viruses don't stick in your body like that. The only one I know that does that is HIV. Which makes this sound like HIV.
言った。
That's what I'm saying. 12 years ago, at age 12 means your age now is...
そう。23歳。
That's right, I'm 23.
あと2月で24になる。
I'll be 24 in another 2 months.
私は24年前、1993年の7月に生まれたの。
You see, I was born 24 years ago, in July 1993. I scrutinized Tsugumi's face. There's no way she looked 23. Time skips! But then again, I knew she wasn't lying. We had never touched upon the subject of her age, but I had assumed her to be a high school student at the most. 23 years old, I muttered to myself. To think she was 3 years older than me.
ねえ。あなたはどこにいるの？
Takeshi, where are you? You suddenly changed the topic. What do you mean, where? I'm right here. And then it's going to go into that again, okay. Like, what was the virus about? It's just like... Oh, Tsugumi took her hand off my neck. I breathed easier.
そう。あなたという存在に実体はない。
You see, your existence has no substance.
あなたはただの概念だから。
All you are is a concept. Concept?
情報。ソフトウェアと言ってもいいかもしれない。
Don't see anything different so far. You are just a packet of information, software.
CD に焼かれた情報に実体はある？
The information written in a CD has no physical body, right?
CD はただのプラスチック。ポリカーボネートという物質の塊。
Same.
それは情報とは何の関連もない。
Same.
情報の実体なんかであるはずもない。
Same.
情報に形はないの。
Same.
ただ専用のアプリケーションを用いることによってのみ情報は具現化される。
Same.
しかし具現化されたその情報の形さえ本質ではない。
Same.
本質は情報それ自体を指すのだから。
Might be the same, it might be drifting off.
たけしも同じ。たけしという本質に実体はない。
Same.
なぜなら倉成たけしという人間の本質はただの概念、情報、ソフトウェアに過ぎない。
Same.
それは肉体というハードによってのみ再現される。
Same.
そう。肉体はハードウェア。
Just didn't let me skip that.
たけしという本質を具現化するためのただの道具。
I see. Okay, I understand you perfectly. No, actually, I hardly understand you at all, but if what you say is true, then what? This is probably different, because I don't remember Takeshi saying anything. I think Takeshi just kind of dazed out. What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
今から12年前、私はあるウイルスに感染した。
12 years ago, I was infected with a virus. Yeah, you said that.
そのウイルスのおかげで、ウイ
Because
ル
of
スの
that,
せいで、
that pause got me. Because of that virus,
私の遺伝子のコードは書き換えられてしまった。
I rewrote my genetic code. This sounds like the stereotypical superhero story. What's your genetic code?
細胞は日々生まれ変わっている。
Cells in people's bodies are replaced daily.
生まれ変わり、そして死んでいく。
They are reborn and then die.
通常、人間の体細胞は5年後には全て入れ替わる。
Normally, the human body is totally replaced with new cells within 5 years.
12歳の時ウイルスに感染した私の細胞はその瞬間からゆっくりと細胞分裂を繰り返し
When I was 12, the cells in my body were infected, and from that moment on, they divided and replaced themselves.
5年後細胞は全て入れ替わったの。
5 years later, all cells have been replaced.
つまり私の肉体を構成する全ての細胞の遺伝情報が5年の歳月を経て全部書き換えられたということ。
I don't see how this works exactly. I mean, like, not all the daughter cells come from different mother cells, so if not all your cells were infected to begin with, then they're still not all infected. In 5 years, but we'll go with it. We'll just kind of roll with this, okay? In 5 years, every cell that made up my body has been genetically altered.
最後の一つとなった細胞が死んだ時
And when the last of the cells had died,
12歳の時の私は跡形もなく消え去ってしまった。
and the last trace of my 12-year-old self disappeared.
そして古い私は死んだ。
At that moment, the old me died.
古い私は死に新しい私は死なない体になっていた。
The old me died, but the new me became a body that never dies. A body that never dies.
私の免疫機能並びに代謝効率は著しく能力向上し
Yeah, I thought of this. My immune system and my metabolic rate were remarkably improved.
テロメアは回復し続けるようになった。
My telomeres began to regenerate themselves. Well, whoa, cancer.
そう
That's right.
私は決して老いず死ななくなった。
I will never grow old and never die. Well, let's just clone you. Clone her. Clone her quickly.
私の成長はその時に止まったままなの。
My physical growth stopped at that moment in time.
17歳のまま決して老いることはないの。
I'll never grow older than 17, which is kind of a problem because it's kind of hard to give birth with a 17-year-old body. It's very non-ideal. Highly improved immune system and increased metabolic efficiency. Oh, she's Ever17. Title drop. Roll credits. Telomeres that continue to rejuvenate. Can we still kill you with cancer though? I think you could still die of cancer. You could probably still die of heart disease if you build up enough plaque in your arteries. I think you can kill you. You can kill you with a gun, right? It's just that if you take good enough care of yourself, you can prevent death. It's possible that you cannot die. You're not like totally immortal though. Well, if what she said was to be believed, Tsugumi's body would never die on its own. As long as her body had the energy to continue, it would not die. As long as she continued to have the will to live, her body would be sustained forever. Semi-eternal life. But was such a thing even conceivable? The concept of never growing old and never dying, was it possible? Why do living creatures age? Essentially, it is to protect against exhaustion and deterioration of function. The life cycle needs aging so it can have succession and renewal through subsequent generations. No, it has aging because Adam ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I couldn't help but laugh. Ha! Ha ha ha. That's a good story, but no way. But I guess it's a good joke, pretty solid.
ええそうね。
Yeah, I guess you're right. Tsugumi snickered at my words.
そうただの冗談。
Yep, it is just a little joke.
引っかかると思ったんだけどダメだったみたいね。
It's not a joke. It's like she said it's a joke, but no. I thought you might fall for it, but I guess not. What else would you expect? Crazy talk like that?
なんだたけし
Hell,
や
Takeshi.
っぱりバカじゃなかったんだ。
Guess you're not so stupid after all. Tsugumi got up slowly. Her disheveled clothes showed just a peek of her legs, and a glimpse of her sleek thighs. And we got the scar here. Her clean satin skin. And a scar. What
どう
the?
したの
What's the
たけ
matter?
しどこ見てるの
Takeshi, what are you looking at? The scar on your thigh. It's like aged. It's not like fresh. Your right thigh at the
もっと
scar.
近くで見たい
Do you want a closer look? Well, yeah, no.
見せてあげようか
Shall I show you? No, really. It's okay. Sure enough, it was a scar. However, it looked like something that had been healed years ago. Just a scar where once several stitches closed a wound. Let's we skip. She had confided her secrets to me in the jellyfish gondola. Virus carrier. A body that never dies. A body that never grows old. Her healed scar. It was also hard to believe. Could such a mind-boggling story even be true? I was still unable to completely believe her. Just like a random insertion there.
それにね
And then there's one of the shapes had a particularly large head. It was only half
これは
finished.
つぐみ
This is Tsugumi.
つぐみかっこよく描いてあげないとな
For Tsugumi, it's important to make her look really cool.
むふふむふ
Huh. Just that one thing changed. The statue stood in silence without complaint, pointing its finger to the south. A while later. Why did it pause there? Just going through all of them. Still, she still is a little slower than when she pulled me away from the flood at the aquarium. Her leg probably still hasn't fully recovered. At any rate, I didn't want her to overdo it, overdoing it. Ah, damn it. Annoyed that I was out of breath, I continued after Tsugumi. The sound of her feet only barely perceptible in the distance. I strained my ears to hear. It sounded like she was headed downstairs. I descended the stairs. I was unable to hear my footsteps from below. It seemed that instead of going to the third floor, she had gone down to the corridor on the second floor. I came out near the entrance to the jellyfish gondola. I had thought she came this way, but Tsugumi was nowhere in sight. I guess I'll just have to give up. What's the point in playing chase with her anyway, I thought. But still, I was disappointed. Without further recourse, I gave up and walked to the nearby security office.
Ma, 私は内緒事をベラベラ喋ったりはしないし興味もないし
I'm not one to go around blabbing secrets, and to tell you the truth, I'm not interested.
空の秘密を知ろうって気はさらさらないから安心しなさ
So don't worry, I have no intention of going through Sora's personal
い
data.
OK?
Okay? Well, okay.
OK?
Okay then. I guess I got trimmed down because we didn't do Tsugumi stuff. I mean, Sora's stuff. I was searching for something to say. You look down. Oh, let me skip this. So, if you discover something about your father, then what? Why is it not letting me skip this? When I asked you, furrowed her brows slightly.
私もねそれを考えてるところ
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
どうするべきかなんてもう分かってる
But I know what has to be done.
分かりきってる
I know all too
プ
well.
ロテクトを解けば全部わかる。
Once I break the security code, I'll know everything I need to know.
とにかく今、私はここのコンソールからレミシステムの中枢にあるはずのデータにアクセスしてる。
Anyway, I'm trying to access Limited System Core from this console.
うまくいくかどうかは全然わからないけど、データがそこにあるらしいってことは分かってるの。
Whether it's possible to gain access or not, I can't say, but I know the data is there.
どこにデータがあるかまではもう
Yep,
分かったのよ。
Yep, I'm certain the data is there.
分かったのはいいんだけど。
There we go. Wondered how long I could watch the little peaceful world she had created. How long could I keep looking at her smiling face? Thinking about it made me feel lonely. See, it surprised me when she started talking to me all of a sudden. The Tsugumi right then seemed like she would never talk about dying, even by accident. I wondered what had resolved her feelings. If that was the case, then it seemed like talking with her had been the right thing to do. I had chased after her constantly. Been hit by her, been put down by her, but the Tsumugi before me was unmistakably one of us.
そんでね、ほいで。
I'm gonna put a save here, but like, why would you ever hit the kid? Why would you choose that? Can't select the kid. Okay, whatever. Kid, don't look over at Tsugumi. She ignored her leg terribly and almost drowned. She had surgery, and if it were for me, I'd have probably died, but she pulled through it. I pointed at Tsugumi. Tsugumi stood silently. The kid timidly raised his eyes to look at her, but soon stared back at the floor again.
でも
But,
たけしがそんなこと言ったってさ、
Takeshi, you say that, but
僕はつぐみじゃないんだ。
I am not Tsugumi.
みんな同じじゃないんだから。
We are not all the same. Okay, there's an awkward pause there because I had to do some pause stuff, but I'll keep going. Um,
無理だよ。
still not letting me skip. I can't do it.
僕には無理だ。
I can't do it.
そんなに強くないんだよ。
I'm just not that strong,
そんなに強くなれないよ。
and I never will be.
生きてなんかいられない。
Except in the route when you are. I can't go on living.
生きていられないんだよ。
Don't want to go on living.
だから、だったら、
So then,
いっそのこと、
I should just... I didn't want to make him say the rest, but I couldn't stop him. I knew how hard it would be for him to say. Even I wasn't that strong. Everyone waited for the kid's next words in silence. They were probably unthinkable.
で、どうしたいの？
So, what do you want to do?
どうしたいのあなたは。
What do you want to do, kid? Tsugumi took a step forward and stared at the kid. Those eyes were unfeeling and quiet.
ねえ、教えてよ。
You can tell me.
少年がどうしたいのか知りたいわ。
What you want to do. Softly, she approached the kid one step at a time. Everyone was so caught off guard that they couldn't move, couldn't say a word.
どうしたの？言えないの？
Say it. She tried to say something, but no words would come out of his mouth. He had also forgotten how to back away. Tsugumi went up to the kid and touched him.
生きていたくないの？
You don't want to live? No. The kid tried to nod, but his head wouldn't budge.
じゃあ、死んじゃいたいの？
So, you want to die then? The kid couldn't respond either.
何か言ってよ。お願いだから。
Say something, please.
私にはよくわかんないよ。
I don't know what you mean. Tsugumi asked the kid, her tone neutral.
ねえ、どっちなの？
So, what is it?
あなたは死にたいの？
Do you want to die?
あなたは生きたいの？
That's a famous line in Japanese mystery visual novels. Anyway, do you want to live? Yes, this is a threat.
そう。答えられないんだ。
So, you can't answer.
だったら
Well then,
もう二度とそんなこと言わないで。
don't ever say that again.
ね。
Okay. The kid broke down in tears and fell on floor covered in water.
ごめんなさい。
Sorry.
ごめんなさい。
I'm so sorry. You suddenly spurred into action, ran over to the kid, and wrapped her arms around his shoulders. Sora looked down and covered her face with her hands. She was trembling. Coco and Pipi were staring at everyone, speechless. Tsugumi? Not knowing what else to say, I stood there. I looked at her face, but I couldn't read what she was thinking from her expression.
たけし、
Takeshi,
ちょっとこっちに来て。
come here for a second. Seeing that I was confused, Tsugumi ran over to me. Eyebrows raised, she glared at me strongly. What was she thinking? Ouch! What are you doing? That hurts.
いいから来なさい。
Stop whining and get over here.
さあ、早く。
Come on, hurry up. Totally clueless, I followed along behind her. She had grabbed my ear and mercilessly tugged. Let me go, Tsugumi. Why are you doing this? Ouch. Wordlessly, she doggedly moved forward. She kept a firm grip on me and kept pulling so that I couldn't get away. Wait, does Tsugumi not lose her gains? You know what I mean? Like, if she worked out, could she just keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger without hitting a limit? Oh, whatever. You'll rip my ear off. It's seriously going to come off. Ah, Sheriff. This is killing me. Let me go, please. We kept climbing the stairs. She wouldn't let go no matter how I pleaded, so I finally shut up. That was the point. And when we finally made it to the second floor, she let go of my ear. Thank heavens. I mean, what were you doing? Are you crazy?
うるさいわね。
Quit your bitching. But what they translate to that?
やっと黙ったと思ったのに。
Just when I thought you'd finally shut up. Tsugumi let out a big sigh. What's that face supposed to mean?
見ての通り、
Just what it looks like.
がっかりしてるのよ。あなたに。
I'm disappointed in you. She furrowed her brow and looked at me. She pinched the bridge of her nose and shook her head. She looked completely fed up. Tsugumi turned and she started walking away from me. Hey, wait a second. Why? What's with you? Did I do something to you? I hurried over to her and insisted that she answer me.
違う。
No.
違う。違う。あなたはまるで分かってない。
No, it's not like that. You don't understand anything. And throwing back her shoulders, she picked up her pace. What don't I understand? I mean, things were getting out of hand back there. If you hadn't said something, I don't know how it would have turned out. I'm glad you did. I'm really sorry and thanks. Tsugumi. I kept yelling as I chased after her. You of all people know how serious the situation is, right? So how come you're... No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. You're angry at me, right? Why are you so mad? Please tell me. Tsugumi stopped at the entrance of
え
Quality.
え。わかったわ。
Okay, I will.
くだらない質問だけど、答えてあげる。
It's a stupid question, but I'll answer it for you anyway. Okay. All of a sudden, Tsugumi smiled at me. I flinched.
あなた、さっき自分で何て言ったか覚えてる？
Do you remember what you said earlier? Me? Let's see. I was fairly angry, so I really don't remember that well. And it might not have been all there at the time. But you know, I really don't think I said anything wrong to the kid. And I'm sure about that.
そう。
Yeah,
間違ってはなかったみたいね。
I guess it looks like you weren't wrong.
だからよ。
That's why.
だから怒ってるの。
That's why I'm mad. Tsugumi jumped onto the jellyfish gondola. I got on soon after her and closed the door. The gondola zipped into the tube and out into the ocean.
冗談じゃない！
I get so frustrated! Bam. Tsugumi pounded the shell of the jellyfish with her fist. Her expression was one of annoyance again. The gondola swayed slightly as it moved forward slowly.
生きてさえいればいい。
Is it really just enough to be alive?
仲間なんだから協力しろですって。
You say you're one of us, so you should cooperate.
そうやって押し付けて、強要して、詭弁を並べ立てて。
I say you keep pushing him to agree with you and buy into all your fake ideals.
無責任にも程がある。
I can't believe how irresponsible you can be.
あなたは一体何者なのよ。
Who the hell do you think you are?
よくもまあ、そんなことが言えたものね。
Really got some nerve talking like that. And 3 hours is my hard cutoff, so I'm going to end it there. So, do a save. And this scene is Takeshi dead or alive. Crisis point. Until dawn. And then return to title. Yes. Special clear list. So there was a missing scene between crawling at the nest and lurking in the dark. And that was missing scene was until dawn. Okay. And then there was one between the missing scene before chains, and it was bonds. Okay. And there's one after crisis point and before after chains. Wait. One after crisis point, that's Takeshi dead or alive, which is the one we're on. Okay. So it looks like there's like a Tsugumi route and there's like a Sora route, but it's like, how did the Sora one ended in just like resetting out? Like it just, we couldn't preserve Sora and she just kind of forgot everything and then it ended. I don't know how there was like another way to do it so that we wouldn't do that. Huh. Well, let's see if I can get the good version of this Tsugumi route, and then well, if I can do that one, I'll go back and try to get the good version of Sora. Probably going to skip the scene. It's going to be replaced with a different one. Whichever one that is. If we do the right choices in Dead or Alive. Out.